Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the Home of Common Sense.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Six, top of the morning. Happy Sunday, one and all. Mark Dolan with you for a big Talk breakfast. Welcome to Sir Keir Starmer's leaving party. The admission is free. Bring a bottle. Breaking this morning, the end of the affair. It is over for Starmer. The fat lady hasn't just sung, she's in a cab on her way home. We are expecting the resignation of the Prime Minister tomorrow. This is a man who's been in post for less than 2 years following a remarkable election victory in 2024. Where did it all go wrong? We will bring reaction from across the political spectrum, and I have a simple question for you this morning. Do you feel sorry for Sir Keir Starmer? 0344 499 1000. Do you feel sorry for him? Do you feel bad for him? Does he deserve to be chucked out? Is it right that he's chucked out by a rival? Is that his mandate to run the country until he faces the election and the judgment of the British people? Do you feel sorry for Sir Keir Starmer? My phone number is 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk in your message to 87222. Leave us a voice note. We love a voice note. I've got the dream team today. We have Luke directing our TV output. Just head to YouTube, search Talk, and up we pop. You can see the show, watch my amazing guests, and watch a very special Dolan's Dispatch at 9 o'clock. Do you feel sorry for Sir Keir Starmer? Kira is taking your calls. Dean Spencer is executive producing the show. And young Matthew is pressing the buttons. So much to get through. I know he's been a terrible Prime Minister, but do you feel sorry for him? Where did it all go wrong for Sir Keir Starmer? Massive majority in the House of Commons, swept to power off the back of Tory chaos. What went wrong? Do you feel sorry for him? 0344 499 1000. A big show to come. Let's talk. And we kick off with the front pages, and let's start with the Sunday Times. Reeves to lose job if Burnham becomes Prime Minister. Row rages over Chancellor's successor as key union rejects Miliband over net zero. We better get used to this, folks, because the issue you've got with Andy Burnham, who will be our next Prime Minister, is that he's in the pocket of the trade unions and he's in the pocket of the left of the party, because it's clear that left-wing backbenchers and the trade unions and the Labour Party membership, which is to the left of most people in this country, they will help him to become Prime Minister, to be leader of the Labour Party. And when he gets into number 10, the trade unions, the left-wing membership and the left-wing MPs will expect their pound of flesh. And you and I will pay the price. So already the Sunday Times are reporting that the unions, not Miliband, are deciding who's going to be the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Now, clearly it would be a complete disaster if Rachel Reeves stayed. We've had 2 ruinous budgets. Let's not forget that growth is non-existent. Unemployment is back from the party of working people. You couldn't make it up. Inflation is through the roof, expected to be 6% by the year end. And of course, we've got companies closing down every 10 seconds, and we've got the highest taxes since the Second World War. And by the way, the cost of government borrowing is now wild. Gilt yields, which is the mechanism by which we borrow money on the international bond markets, are priced higher than after Liz Truss's mini budget. I know she wasn't perfect. I know that the execution from that mini budget was a disaster, but I don't know about you. But right now, I'd have her back in a flash. Would you have Liz Truss back? I'd have her back in a flash, and then some. Because at least she tried to do the right thing. Well, we've got a government that are running this country into the ground. And let me tell you that I don't see Burnham as the great panacea, as the silver bullet. Because if Andy Burnham becomes Prime Minister, which he will, that's not good news for the country. It's good news for Andy Burnham. Because that's what Burnhamism is. Burnhamism is all about that guy with the jet black hair and the lush eyebrows. That's what it's about. It's about him. And it's about his career and about his desire for that top job, which he has coveted for over a decade. Don't forget, this will be his 3rd attempt to become the leader of the Labour Party. 3rd time lucky for him, 3rd time unlucky for the rest of us, because when he gets into number 10, the unions, the left-wing membership and the left-wing Labour backbenchers, who are so mad they wouldn't even let Starmer do very modest cuts to the disability benefits, they will expect their pound of flesh. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Things are going to get worse, not better. And the only positive from that is that it means that when change comes, change will be seismic. Sunday Telegraph, Starmer is ready to resign, allies say. Prime Minister's support evaporating as Burnham backers hope for coronation. Badenoch, Tories will try to prevent puberty blockers trial. Have we all lost our minds? When did it become a good idea to give 11-year-old children medication that stops them growing and developing? Have we lost our minds? And are they the good people that support this policy of medicating 11-year-olds, causing irreversible damage to their bodies? likely causing them lifelong sexual dysfunction, reproductive issues, depression, scarring, pain. Are they mad? Am I living in a parallel universe where I'm the bad guy for saying don't inject medication into 11-year-olds to stop their bodies growing? Are you kidding me? So well done to Kemi Badenoch for stepping in and halting this madness. Don't get me wrong, as the excellent Phil Dave said earlier, what a brilliant job he does. I'm loving the early breakfast. Let me tell you, what a treat that is. And as Phil Dave said, or Dave Phil, it's up to you how you call him. Phil Dave quite rightly said that children should not be subject to medical experimentation. You should not have the sentence medical trial and child. Those words should not be together in the same sentence. It's utter insanity. It is child abuse. It's cruelty. It's wrong-headed. It's mad. But it's where we are. And yet, these are the good people, folks. The good people want to medicate 11-year-olds so that their testicles don't drop and that they can't grow breasts. It is wild. Absolutely wild. Sunday Express, rescue Britain from Ed's net zero madness. Kemi urges Labour to boost energy security and start drilling. It's interesting, isn't it? A lot of noise around Kemi this morning. She's going to stop the puberty-blocking trials on children. She's now calling out the madness of net zero. They had a fantastic victory in Aberdeenshire, that by-election, which related to the oil industry, of course. And the people of Scotland are feeling very much the impact of the SNP's net zero madness. So she's making headlines. I've got to say, the issue you got with Kemi Badenoch is that she's a very talented politician, very comfortable in her own skin. She's charismatic. She's got a head on her shoulders. As my mother would say, she's got her head screwed on. I think the issue you've got, though, is the party. I think Kemi, great leader. Party, still tainted, still toxic, still not trusted, still not believed. And why would we believe the Tories? Because the net zero madness came from them. Now Kemi's calling it out. The Boris wave came from them. Now Kemi's calling it out. Wokery in our public institutions. Instructions to the courts that British people of colour should get shorter sentences for crimes than their white compatriots. She's calling it out. Started under the Tories. The cult of welfarism, in which it pays more to stay home and watch loose women all day and chow down Domino's pizza and guzzle those big 2-litre bottles of Diet Coke. It pays better to do that than get up in the morning and go to work. Started under the Tories. The COVID overreaction, for which we're all paying the price, under the Tories. Open borders, the boats, net zero, an economy always in the red. This is the legacy of 14 years of the Tories in power. So yes, Kemi's right when she calls out the boats and the Boris wave and net zero. Problem is, her party is responsible. And that's why the people aren't listening. They do like her. I think everyone likes Kemi. I think she's actually probably the right person to lead that party. The right leader, but the wrong brand. Will you ever forgive the Tories? How long will it take? Does it need 10 years on the naughty step? Or is Nigel Farage the answer for British conservatism? Mail on Sunday. Another Kemi headline. She's everywhere. After the right's split in Makerfield helps put Burnham on a path to number 10, Tory leader issues a defiant pledge. Kemi, why I will never do a deal with Farage. Kemi Badenoch has killed off any prospect of an electoral pact with Nigel Farage after Reform UK's poor showing in last week's by-elections. Writing in today's Mail on Sunday, the Tory leader emphasises distinctions between the Conservatives and Farage's party, saying we're not the same and voters are not ours to trade like football cards. And citing Reform support for a bigger state, more spending, nationalisation gimmicks and unfunded giveaways, she says devastatingly, Reform dress like Thatcherites but act like Corbynites. Well, I think she's mad to rule out a deal, because is she saying that she would like another 5 years of this Labour government? Because that's what's on the table if Nigel and Kemi don't get into a smoky room, open a bottle of whiskey and hammer out a deal. Because that's the only option for this country. If the halo has slipped for Nigel Farage, and I don't know, it's a big if, and if reform have peaked, and I don't know, it's a big if, but if that is the case, well, then reform need the Tories and the Tories need reform. Who knows, maybe even big Rupert Lowe can lend his support to a right-wing coalition. What happens if Restore win, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 seats, 30 seats at the next election? Then big Rupert Lowe steps in, he's the kingmaker. Kemi's got 110 seats, Nigel's got 230 seats. That sounds like a coalition to me. There's not too much they disagree over. They want economic growth and they're serious about it, unlike this government, because they are fiscal conservatives. They want low inflation, they want low taxes. They want public services that work. They want strong borders. They want to stop the boats. Don't forget, even Kemi's leaving the ECHR now. So I just wonder, is a coalition of the rights the best case scenario? Is that actually optimal? Is that better than reform having an overall majority? Is that better than the Tories returning to power and having control of this great, great project of ours? I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think Kemi's mad for ruling out a deal at this stage. That said, a deal wasn't available because I sat down and interviewed Nigel Farage exclusively for the Daily Express, which is coming out on Tuesday. That's when it's coming out. The kids say it's dropping then. My interview with Nigel Farage, I spent half a day with him in Clarkson, and we sat down for the best part of an hour for the hardest grilling he'll have this year. It was friendly but firm, a little bit like me. That's my nature. Friendly but firm. Kindly but thorough is how I am. And it was a very interesting conversation. The guy is comfortable in his own skin, good-humoured, amazing energy. He'd been going since 5 a.m. His ritual is pretty rigorous. He does drink a pint at lunchtime, by the way. After our interview together, we went to his local, which was an excellent Wetherspoons, and he sank a pint or two and hung out with the public. He loves people. He loves the public and he loves Britain. So it's quite an interesting encounter. And he had no appetite for a deal with the Tories. He said to me, well, look, Mark, I can shake you by the hand. I can look you in the eye. We can do a deal. And that will be our agreement. But would you do that with the Tories who shafted you in 2019, which Nigel feels they did to him? And it's a fair point. So Kemi's saying no deal with Farage. I'm not sure a deal was on the table in the first place. However, folks, I do think what's going to happen is that the political right will wake up at a certain point. It will happen in the run-up to the next election. And when the polls suggest that the right can only achieve power by working together, then a deal will be done. It may not be an official deal, and it may not be signed in ink, but certain parties will try less hard in certain constituencies. And most definitely, what it will pave the way for is after the election, in the event of a hung parliament, at that point, it will be deal central. It will be the bottle of whiskey. It will be the smoky room. And I wonder whether it's not a bad scenario to have Nigel in there, Kemi and Rupert, because I think there's not too much that they disagree about. And I wonder whether they could bring the best out in each other. I don't know. Others take the view that, no, Nigel all the way, because we've got to sweep away the establishment and we need radical change. You might be right. Let's see what happens. But anything is better than another 5 years of this. Another 5 years of net zero and the highest energy prices in the developed world. Another 5 years of 11-year-olds being medicated to stop their bodies developing in the name of wild, mad gender ideology. Another 5 years of more money for welfare and no money for working people. Another 5 years of open borders Another 5 years of people worried about the consequences of immigration being called far right and God knows what else. Thanks, but no thanks. Sun on Sunday, Star's cancer tumour gone. Clarkson, I'm in remission. We love Jeremy Clarkson. He's a national icon. Great journalist, great broadcaster, great farmer, great character. My goodness, he's got the Midas touch, hasn't he? He was a successful print journalist and author. Then he was a TV presenter with Top Gear, which he completely reinvented as a show and completely reimagined that format. Then we had the Grand Tour after his altercation with the BBC, because they always get rid of their best talent. And he goes to Amazon, does the Grand Tour, which was very entertaining and watched by millions. And then he does Clarkson's Farm, which on paper should be a very boring show with no viewers. But I believe Clarkson's Farm is the biggest show in the world. So it's wonderful that Clarkson is feeling better, that his cancer is in remission, because he's a heroic figure and a national treasure. Sunday Mirror, historic royal move. Oh, the Mirror have gone very quiet. There's no politics in the Mirror today. Where's Keir Starmer? Oh, where's the stories about inflation and about unemployment caused by this government? Where are the stories about the cost of net zero or the Chagos Islands sell-off or scrapping jury trials or digital ID that wasn't in a manifesto? Why aren't the Mirror talking about a leadership crisis at the heart of this Labour government, which is going to lead to a guy that's been in post for less than 2 years resigning tomorrow? These people sicken me. They are vile hypocrites. They're pathetic. Not a squeak. But of course, when the Tories were in power and doing a terrible job, which they were, the Tories were rubbish. They were rubbish. And the Mirror wrote about that. And it was all about the Tories' failure in power. Well, now Labour are arguably even worse. Much worse, by the way. Tories were terrible. Boris wave, boats, net zero, COVID overreaction, cult of welfareism, wokery in our public institutions. Have I forgotten anything? The Tories were terrible. Labour, much worse. But not a squeak out of the Mirror. King to release tax returns. I don't care about the King's tax returns. Can you talk about this government's tax receipts? After Rachel from Accounts, Little Miss CV, the woman who was a Bank of England economist. She was also one of the key generals in the Battle of Hastings. She wrote War and Peace and Hey Jude. Old Rachel from Accounts has destroyed this economy, but all the Mirror want to talk about is King Charles. Do me a favour. Folks, we've got such a big show for you. It is Keir Starmer's leaving party, and I'm going to be welcoming into the studio one of the most talented broadcasters in the country next. Do you feel sorry for Sir Keir Starmer? Give Keira a call now. She's in post. She's got the gig. 0344 499 1000. Do you feel sorry for Sir Keir Starmer? What went wrong? You tell me. This is Talk.
It's just over a decade ago that Emily Thornberry put out that scornful tweet. Do you remember?
Yeah.
White van man in Rochester with a big Union flag, and you know, oh, how ghastly, how awful. Are these people simply frightful? And I'm afraid not all, but many Lib Dems are the same. What they're ashamed of is the English flag. Scottish flag, fine. Welsh flag, fine. Irish, everything like that's marvellous. But no. We can't be English. And this has been going on for a long, long time. Raise the colours. Do you know what? I absolutely love it.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast 6:25. I say Talk Breakfast, what it really is. Let's rebrand it today, Dean. It's Keir Starmer's leaving party. Are you celebrating? What went wrong for the Prime Minister? Cliff in Berkshire, good morning, Mark. No party leader would say that they would do a deal with another party because that would be admitting defeat. This is Tories and Reform working together. Perhaps we need just 3 options on the ballot paper: left, right and centre. Not a bad idea, Cliff. Maggie in London. Of course, Kemi won't do a deal with Farage from the strong rumours going around. She's made that deal with Rupert Lowe to stop Farage at any cost, allegedly, says Maggie. Christina, good morning, Mark. I'm so pleased that Reform UK got rid of Rupert Lowe. No wonder Southampton Football Club got rid of him. Nasty little man, says Christina. What about this from Louise in Ipswich? Good morning, Louise. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. Welcome to Keir Starmer's leaving party. Mark, imagine if Starmer goes for the nuclear option. Imagine he calls a general election tomorrow with him leading the Labour Party. Done to spite those who want to perform a coup against him. Louise, it would be a beautiful thing. Sarah, good morning, Mark. We need the right to save this great country. Put ego to one side. Do what's right, because no lefties will. Mark says, good morning, Mark, as I wake up this morning to the headlines. Is it wrong to dream that Kemi, Nigel and Rupert have set a bear trap for Burnham by publicising anger and division? I can't read that, but Mark, thank you. I think there's a little typo at the end of that message. Based on 7%, says Carl, Restore will never win anything. Why keep pushing Restore, Mark? Well, you raise a good point, Carl, but I think that there is a margin of error in a lot of those constituencies in the Northwest, which could hurt Reform at the next election. Live in the studio, broadcaster, producer and intellectual colossus, Phil Dave. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning.
I very much enjoyed the early breakfast show.
Thank you. Yes, so I dare say I did as well. But I have to confess, I don't know whether or not other people would, but hopefully they did.
It was a beautiful thing, and lots to go at, because, of course, we have the small matter of an outgoing Prime Minister. We're expecting his resignation in the days ahead, very possibly tomorrow.
Yeah, look, I don't think that we should celebrate too early with this, because the truth is, OK, yes, it is possible that he may be on the way out. But as I mentioned earlier, if you didn't hear, I am deeply concerned about what the alternative looks like, because
you said earlier, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, because sometimes it really is better the devil you know. And as much as I understand why people can't stand Starmer, believe me, I'm certainly not in his fan club, even if he's even got one left. But I think that the idea of Burnham as PM, and even the fact that there are rumours he's contemplating Ed Miliband as Chancellor, even if there's no truth in that, it has to come from somewhere. If Ed Miliband was to become Chancellor, we would be just absolutely doomed.
Most definitely. Not only is Ed Miliband wedded to the ideology of net zero, it's his personal pet project, he is also a socialist. More so, for example, than...
Socialist on steroids, I suggest.
More so than, for example, Rachel Reeves. Because before the election, she was asked, are you a socialist? And she said, no, I'm a social democrat, which was quite significant.
Well, quite. So, yes, I mean, look, and again, I don't think that any of us think that Rachel from accounts has been doing the most incredible job either, but at the very least, she seems to be, if it's a choice between her and Ed Miliband, the lesser of the two evils. And so...
And she's got a great CV. She was the.
Well, I'm not surprised. It's a great CV. I'm not so sure how much of a trust of it.
She was an economist in the Bank of England for, actually, I've just checked, 57 years. She founded the Bank of England, and she also led. She was one of the key generals in the Battle of Hastings. Did you know that?
I didn't know, but that does explain a lot. That would certainly explain why old Harold wound up with an arrow in his eye. But look,
Little reported that she wrote "Hey Jude," so fair play.
Well, quite.
So she'll be missed when she goes.
Yeah,
very talented lady.
Totally and utterly. It would be a devastating loss to British politics, I'm quite sure. Rachel, who? Look, I think in all seriousness that we should not forget that although, yes, it is perfectly true that Starmer as Prime Minister has been deeply unpleasant for an awful lot of people, and make no mistake, I absolutely can't wait to see the back of him and his cronies. But I do worry about who would replace him.
Well, I don't get it with Andy Burnham. I don't see the allure.
I think I do. I tell you what, I think the allure with him is that he's a great orator. He's like Blair, if you think about it.
Wait a minute, is he a great orator? I'm not sure he's even that compelling to listen to.
No, but Blair wasn't necessarily compelling
All
to
he
listen
does
to.
is, I'll give you a Andy Burnham speech. Oh, hi, everyone. I'm northern and working class, even though I went to Oxbridge and read English literature, yeah, but I'm still working class, man. And basically, there's 3 buses in Manchester, and it's all thanks to me. And you know all those skyscrapers that were built by private companies? Those skyscrapers from private companies. I built them myself, actually. I used bricks and everything. I'm working class, I'm proper real. I'm keeping it real. I'm Andy Burnham with all my own hair, rich, voluminous, dark in colour.
Maybe that's why I admire him. He's got all his own hair. But look, I mean, I think that...
But I mean, this is the Emperor's new clothes. What is this Andy Burnham myth?
Well... Again, I think it's... Well, so there are several things to play here. First of all, I kind of blame the media for the fact that he won Makerfield.
Yes.
Because the amount of presumption out there that sort of said that Burnham would therefore go on to become Prime Minister, it was almost like it was written in the stars, if you see what I mean, as if it was a given that he was going to get it. And OK, fair enough. It was highly likely because Makerfield has been Labour for over 100 years, which is quite impressive when you consider that really 100 years ago that Labour had never even been in power. So that is clearly a long time that whatever the Labour Party is, as it was in those days, to take that seat. It still doesn't negate the fact that there was a lot of, if you like, subliminal pushing towards him getting it. I didn't notice anyone
100%.
say... I didn't notice any subliminal pushing towards, say, the Reform candidate getting it and saying that, you know, that Robert What's-his-chops would end up sort of becoming the next MP.
They detested Rob Kenyon. But he's exactly the kind of person they don't like, a real working man. What is he, mid-30s, white plumber, disgusting. They despise these people.
It would certainly appear they do. And, you know, I believe that sort of really is sort of part of the problem, is that sort of that you could argue that Makerfield wasn't necessarily won fairly, because I can't help but feel that there were all sorts of rules and regulations that must have been at best skewed, at worst broken, to cover with such immense quantity. If you think about how had you ever heard of Makerfield before it was announced that Andy Burnham was standing?
No,
I'm not
but
so sure.
I don't think you're right about that, and I'll tell you for why. The scale of the victory. I do agree that the media have already begun this loving with Burnham, and just prepare for The Guardian and The Mirror to roll out the red carpet for him when he becomes Prime Minister. You're right about that, and it feels undemocratic that the vast majority of media outlets are going to be very pro-Burnham. But the scale of the victory was so huge. The Americans had an expression before the election in 2024 for Trump, which was too big to rig, and I think this one was too big to rig.
Possibly, but I do find it very convenient how large that victory was.
Really?
Because,
now that's interesting.
Well, just only for no other reason than, as I say, it got an awful lot of coverage, and I'm not going to start doing a Trump and start sort of saying that I don't trust the results and say that I don't agree with it and it was rigged and all that. Look, democracy is democracy. I think this country is better than that, and I don't believe we rig elections. I've never thought that, and I never will do. But I will say that the front page of the Mail on Sunday, you obviously read earlier, when it says that after the right's split in Makerfield helps put Burnham on path to number 10, I didn't agree with that at all, because I actually thought if you add up all the right, even if you did that, it still wouldn't have been enough to get over the line compared to what Burnham got. So I stand by that there are a couple of factors at play here. Possibly the media coverage and the natural leaning towards Burnham. Possibly the fact that that was just such a strong Labour seat that there was never any doubt that it would be anything but. But I just also believe that some people can sort of believe what they're told is going to happen. We were told Andy Burnham will replace Keir Starmer as the Prime Minister before he even became an MP again.
It's a fair point. Jackie, good morning, Mark, and hello, Phil. As a huge Boris fan, Mark, I think you're wrong about him. He had a vision for the country, got us out of the EU in spite of Starmer, coped with COVID, etc. I do not feel sorry for Stalin, which I think is your nickname for Sir Keir Starmer. He was vile to Boris and is now getting his comeuppance. Keep going, Jackie. Jackie, you're right about that. And I've always given Boris credit for two things. Winning that election in 2019, keeping Jeremy Corbyn out of number 10 and getting Brexit done. I've always given him credit for that. But we do have net zero and we do have the Boris wave.
And I also gave him credit for throwing away that huge majority.
Well, that's exactly right. Stephen in London, do I feel sorry for Starmer? Tax, immigration, policing, defence, energy costs. Did he at any point, asks Stephen, feel sorry for us? Liam in Accrington. Good morning, Liam. How are you? Welcome to Talk Breakfast. Welcome to Keir Starmer's leaving party. I feel a little bit sorry for Keir as he took the poison chalice and also his staff telling him what to do in regard to policies as he didn't know anything about politics, really. I think that's very fair, Liam. A lot of insiders have actually said, including a brilliant piece in the Sunday Times a couple of months ago from number 10 insiders saying Starmer completely out of his depth. One of them said, a close colleague of Starmer said, he's the least curious person I've ever met. Sean in Gloucester. Good morning, Mark, and good morning, Phil. Do I feel sorry for Keith Stalin? You must be joking. How can you feel sorry for an earthquake that's wrecked your life? The man stands for nothing, and he even U-turns on that. He has bad ideas implemented poorly. His judgment is terrible, as evidenced by the characters in his cabinet. Need I go on? Burnham will be as bad, if not worse. Well, my brilliant colleague and talk star Phil Dave said earlier on the early breakfast that you should be careful what you wish for. And it's very possible that Burnham will be worse than Starmer. But I've got two big questions for you today. Where did it all go wrong for Starmer? And do you feel sorry for him? Do you feel sorry for Keir Starmer? 0344 499 1000. More front pages next. 6:37. Talk Breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Richard in Leicester, good morning, Mark. Phil, your guest was just about right. Burnham already won 3 weeks ago. Selected, not elected. What an interesting
what a
point
phrase. Well done, that man.
Can't disagree with that. Do you feel sorry for Sir Keir Starmer? Pat is in Bournemouth. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, Mark, for the third time.
Third time lucky. Listen,
Absolutely.
Patrick, what do you think? First of all, before we get to like Starmer, should he stay, should he go? Do you feel sorry for him?
Not in the slightest.
Why
The
not?
only reason the Labour Party got in was because the public lost faith in the uni parties, and the Tories did so bad that hardly anyone went out to vote in the first place.
Well, I think that's a very, very fair point indeed. He's had 2 years in power. Are there any positives from his time in number 10, Pat?
I can't think of one. Everything that he said he's done well has, to be honest, been quite dishonest. And the bit where you're talking about the puberty blockers, I think it should be a criminal offence.
100%.
Children, things like that. He says that he's here for the children, like this rubbish about ID on Facebook and stuff. If they really cared about children, why are they doing harm to them?
It's utter insanity. Don't tell me about the science, Pat, or medical opinion. You don't stop a child's body developing in the name of some bonkers ideology.
Let children be children. When
Right.
You're a bit younger than me, but I remember just being taught school work, history, geography, PE, sciences, the normal stuff. Our parents taught us quite well. I left school not knowing a lot, but I soon learnt it.
You most definitely did. Pat, do you feel that Sakir does have to go, or does he deserve the right to fight on?
It's a tough one. What you were just saying with the gentleman with you, sometimes about the devil you know, is it? You know, I don't know. If Miliband gets into the Chancellor, then, as you say, we're in real trouble then.
I mean, the only question I've got for you, Pat, is whether Starmer deserves to stay in number 10. He won that election. He was the leader. It was his name on the manifesto. I just wonder whether he's earned those 5 years. They belong to him and they're being taken off him.
I don't know if he's earned it, because he's done nothing to earn it in the last 2 years. I personally feel it should trigger a general election, leave it up to the people to now decide, after not going out and voting a lot of them last time, now thinking we've all got to vote. And I think Reform are the only ones. You look at the last set of by-elections, they did a landslide across the country. Makerfield is nothing. That's just one.
Well, I agree. I think we're over-interpreting Makerfield, aren't we, Pat? Given the fact that by-elections are always a protest vote, which is why lots of people voted Restore, who I think will vote Reform at a general election. But similarly, there was also a celebrity candidate, a household name politician. You can't really compete against that.
No, absolutely. And personally, I'm a plumber, performer disability. And I was all up for the Reform guy. You know, he was a real down-to-earth guy.
Rob Kenyon, brilliant guy.
He hasn't got a great track record, really. Come on, let's have it right.
The problem he had was his communication skills were not the best, but that's the tension, isn't it, between having a real person running for Parliament versus a good communicator. Stay with us if you can, Pat. With me in the studio, talk star Phil Dave. And Phil,
New definition of the term star I wasn't previously aware of, but thank you.
Definitely. I think Pat's raised some really good points there. But, I mean, that's my question to you.
He has.
In many ways, old Starmer, he's got a mandate to run the country. He won that election. That was his landslide. He was the leader. It was his name on the letterhead. And I just wonder whether it's been taken off him.
Well, so there are a couple of points to that. Of course, the first one being is that I know that people believe that when we vote in a general election, we're voting for who we want to be Prime Minister, but technically our laws of election state we're actually voting, if you like, for the party.
But that's
and then
nitpicking.
Nitpicking, but it is true.
Well, with the leaders' debates, it was Starmer versus Sunak, wasn't it?
No, for sure. But that's because they are the leaders of those parties, not because, in essence, when you go to literally, your ballot paper doesn't say, I want to vote for Keir Starmer. It says, I want to vote for whoever your local Labour MP is.
You're being pedantic. That's the letter of the law, not the spirit.
No, for sure. But hang on, hear me out. At the same time, I would argue in favour of what you say, because how many times did we see during the Tories being in power the last time round, the leader change? We went from David Cameron to Theresa May, from Theresa May to Boris Johnson, from Boris Johnson to Liz Truss, from Liz Truss to Rishi Sunak. So we had 5 different leaders, and it was only Boris Johnson who called a general election.
Well, I think exactly that's a fair point. And I'm just thinking, Patrick, in Bournemouth...
Well, obviously Rishi called an election, but then he lost, but you know what I mean.
I'll tell you why I'm not happy, Pat. I don't like Keir Starmer, but I'm not sure that I like parties getting rid of prime ministers. I quite like it that the public get rid of a prime minister. What do you think?
The way the Tories went through the five that they went through was wrong. I think once a prime minister loses his mark, I think it should trigger a general election. There's no other way around.
Well, I know what you mean, because, Pat, I'm thinking back to 89, 90 and the way that the Tories decapitated Margaret Thatcher. She shouldn't have been deposed from power. She won that election in 87. She had every right to govern until the end of that parliamentary term, right?
She saw what was going wrong with the EU.
Yeah.
That's why the backbenchers got rid of her.
Yeah.
Because she was a Eurosceptic, and she was right. They obviously helped form the 7 countries that started the EU, or whatever it was called in the beginning.
Yeah, EEC.
Just putting it out there, call me devil's advocate if you will, but is there an argument to be had that says that actually parliamentarians are elected because they have to help run the country and they are supposed to, be forgiven for thinking otherwise, but they are supposed to do what is in the best interest of the country? And if there is a large enough number of them that believes that the leader of our country is a liability and is a problem, is there no argument to be had that said that it is their duty to do something about it without causing the country the indigestion that comes with a full-on general election?
I don't know. I think it's 100% down to the Prime Minister. But if the public lose faith in the Prime Minister, which they have by a massive amount, you think
for sure
how much lack of respect he has from the whole country when it from such a landslide of the people that actually did vote. If people have lost interest in him, they've lost interest in the party. This is why I think a general election should be triggered.
So do you think there should always be a general election if the Prime Minister changes, Pat?
To be honest, yes, because the Prime Minister or the leader of the party is the leader of the party. If you lose faith in the leader of the party, I'm sorry, you lose faith in the party.
But then that means in the last 10 years we would have had 5 general elections. That would have been an awful lot.
Because I think what would have happened is the parties would have stuck with their leader. And it would have been created more political stability. And I'm thinking, Pat, if Mrs T had stayed as Prime Minister until 1990 and served her term, she might well have won the following election. We can but dream. Pat, listen, before I let you go, big man, there's a lot of talk about what's happened in Bournemouth, a lot of tensions in the town, concerns about the impact of migrants, illegal immigration, that sort of thing, migrant hotels. What's your experience? Is it exaggerated or has Bournemouth got problems?
Bournemouth is trashed. It's absolutely going downhill big time. We have a company, private company, called Safeguarding Force that do the job of the police because the police don't do their job. We have essays, we have stabbings, we have murders, things that I've never heard of before 15 odd years ago. It's literally, I will not go to Bournemouth. I hate the place now.
Because you're on the outskirts?
Yeah, I'm about 15 miles out. I'm in the beautiful countryside. I'd rather go to Boscombe, which I used to call Boscanistan. You know, it was a horrendous place to go to, but that's got better now. Bournemouth is just, it's not Bournemouth anymore. It's I don't know.
Sadly, that is so true of a lot of this country, but anyway.
So you said the word trashed, Pat. Why has this happened? Why is there social disorder and crime?
Lack of police presence, lack of police, lack of authority, lack of dealing down from the College of Policing, the way they're taught. They don't even know the law. You know, they quote laws that they're going, oh, we'll arrest you on this, arrest you on that. All these terrorism things now, I'm watching the cameras. It's like, hello, you know,
I totally agree. The culture of policing is a complete disaster. I was reading in the paper the other day of a woman who was renting out her flat, and it became very clear that the tenants were growing marijuana in that flat. And the police got there, and all the lights and everything, smell of skunk, you know, it was quite clear what they were using that flat for. And no arrests were made. They didn't even pursue it because they said, oh, we need a bag of cannabis, otherwise we don't have evidence. I mean, I think the cops have lost the plot. Patrick, to what extent, briefly, is immigration a factor in Bournemouth and the migrant hotels? Has that been overcooked, or is that an issue too?
No, we have 3 at the moment. I think there's a possible 2 more going to be coming in, all within. And Bournemouth's a very small town, to be honest. It's not that big. So to have that many migrant hotels where they're just wandering the street, doing what they want, whenever they want, however they want, and again, I don't blame them. It's the government allowing all. It's like the welfare state, you know. How can we have a welfare that is higher than the income tax?
Pat, you've talked a lot of sense this morning. You must call me again soon. You said it's the 3rd time. Well, I want 30 chats with you and the rest, because you've made a lot of great points, and it's a tragedy what's happened in Bournemouth. I've got to say, as Phil Dave has said, it's a metaphor for so many towns across the land. And I've got to tell you, it's only going to get worse. Do you feel sorry for Sir Keir Starmer? Now, Dean and I have decided we're going to devote half an hour of the 8 hour to your call. So 8:30 to 9, just you and me talking. And I want to know about Starmer's legacy. Where did it all go wrong? Do you feel sorry for him? Has he earned the right to stay in power because he won that election? So book your place on the show, 0344 499 1000. Kira is taking your calls. More front pages next, and an update on the health of Jeremy Clarkson. Don't go anywhere.
It's just over a decade ago that Emily Thornberry put out that scornful tweet. Do you remember?
Yeah.
White van man in Rochester with a big Union flag, and you know, oh, how ghastly, how awful. Are these people simply frightful? And I'm afraid not all, but many Lib Dems are the same. What they're ashamed of is the English flag. Scottish flag, fine. Welsh flag, fine. Irish, everything like that's marvellous. But no. We can't be English. And this has been going on for a long, long time. Raise the colours. Do you know what? I absolutely love it.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Some fantastic news. Jeremy Clarkson is in remission from cancer. Front page of The Sun on Sunday. Star's cancer tumour gone. Much loved telly star Jeremy Clarkson is in remission from aggressive prostate cancer. The Sun columnist, 66, had a test 2 months ago which showed the tumour had gone. Last night he told fans, I've decided to be one of the 60% who doesn't have a recurrence. He had revealed last summer's diagnosis in Clarkson's Farm episodes last week. I believe we have a clip of the big man. Let's take a listen.
Hello everyone. Now the more observant among you will have noticed that I'm not dead. And I'm not just not dead, I'm perfectly fine. My eyebrows in particular are looking very lustrous. And the reason why I'm fine is because the doctors caught the prostate cancer early. And they caught it early because I got tested. Now, I know a lot of you will say, oh, I don't want to be tested because it means someone will have to put their finger in me, but it's just a blood test these days.
Well, fantastic advice from Clarkson. And if you are a gentleman of middle age, which I most certainly am, then it's a very good idea to go and get yourself tested. So you can find out online. Just head to the NHS. Is it nhs.org? Something like that. Search NHS in Google and you are good to go. So, lads, take care of yourselves, because staying on the planet is the greatest priority. Phil was right. Andy Burnham already won 3 weeks ago. Selected, not elected. What a zinger of a line that is. Sean, good morning, Mark. I'm still convinced that Starmer will call an election rather than resign. He's such a spiteful and vindictive creature. His ego can't cope with rejection from his party. What about this from Stuart? Good morning, Mark. When you have people who have no love for the country and a government that hates the British people, its culture and its history, then trash is all it can ever be until we can put reform into government who will demand that you love and work for Britain or you leave. It's interesting, isn't it, Phil Dave? Because if you look at the actions of this government, they're not the actions of an administration that wishes to preserve what is great about Britain. So, for example, scrapping jury trials, which have worked quite well for 900 years, giving away the Chagos Islands,
you're stuck
territory.
in the past, Mark. Why would you keep with something that's 900 years old?
Of course I would. I mean, seriously. So old hat, isn't it? Meanwhile...
Well, apart from anything, let's not forget the small boats as well. I mean, they claim they're getting them under control. Of course they're not getting it under control at all. It's the weather that controls the small boats. It was only the other day, when it was one of the hottest days of the year so far, 700 people in one day. It's... just... outrageous.
It's an outrage, and you're right to be angry about it. Ian, good morning, Mark and Phil. Ian from Oldham here. I could never feel anything but contempt for Starmer, not least because of his appointment of the poisonous unelected Hermer and allowing him to pursue our veterans through the courts, not to mention his other mate, Sands, to try and profit from the Chagos giveaway, costing us billions. God save us from lawyers. I did take a call a couple of months ago, Phil, who said we should never have lawyers as prime ministers because their job is to sit on the fence and decide, well, I'm either going to kind of defend this guy or I'll prosecute him, depending on who tells me what to think.
It's very hard to argue with it, and I don't personally, off the top of my head, recall any other prime minister being a lawyer. They may have studied law, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they were an active KC in the way that Starmer was. But I don't really sort of think that being a lawyer is what has driven Starmer to the position he's in. I mean, there's definitely an element of it, because maybe that's where the procrastination comes from. This idea of sitting on the fence and trying to see both sides of an argument and then coming up with the square root of nothing, because you can't really decide one way or another whether or not you think something is in the best interest or not. How many U-turns are now? 16, 17 U-turns we're up to. So you can sort of see that maybe there is some accuracy in that it's not possible for a lawyer to have the gumption, if you like, and the necessary mindset, I suppose, to be Prime Minister.
Most definitely. Sunday Telegraph, King's tax bill will be released in historic first. Buckingham Palace is to disclose the King's personal tax bill for the first time amid increased scrutiny of royal finances. A new and extensive annual royal household finance report will be published this week alongside the traditional sovereign grant report in an effort to modernise and evolve. Sounds like a smart move to me. I don't think the King's got anything to hide, has he, Phil?
No, I don't either. I think you're right, it's a smart move in the sense that obviously His Majesty's basically saying, look, there's nothing to see here, but if you're really that upset, go for it. I don't mind. But I would suggest that it also panders to those who are making a racket about the royal family's finance, where actually it's just none of their blooming business.
Most definitely. Talking about what's happened to Bournemouth, which is descending into social disorder and deprivation. Peter says, trapped in the cities and towns by violent illegal immigrants and now at the seaside resorts, the classic pincer movement. Powerful words there. How about this from Colin? Let Burnham, the PM, ship. All that will do is to take Labour even further to the left, which will be their demise in the end. Starmer will call a general election. On another point, says Danny, the press proclaimed Starmer was our saviour. Eat humble pie. Lots more to come. Do you feel sorry for Starmer?
Some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the Home of Common Sense.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Top of the morning to you. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan.
Some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the Home of Common Sense.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Top of the morning to you. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan.
Some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the Home of Common Sense.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Top of the morning to you. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan.
Some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the Home of Common Sense.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Top of the morning to you. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan.
Some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the Home of...
Across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
And breaking this morning, it's the end of the affair. It is over for Starmer. The fat lady hasn't just sung, she's in a cab on her way to breakfast. But we might rebrand the show today as Starmer's leaving party. But are you celebrating? Insiders at Number 10 have revealed that Sir Keir Starmer is talking to friends, family and loyal colleagues about his future, and it's our understanding he will resign in the next 24 hours. Now, this is a man who's been in post as Prime Minister for less than 2 years following a remarkable election victory in 2024, but it's a short-lived premiership which has ended in tears. We will bring reaction from across the political spectrum, and I've got a simple question for you this morning. Do you feel sorry for Keir Starmer? 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk and your message to 87222. DAB Plus in app and online. You can watch the show. Head over to YouTube, search Talking Up We Pop. The brilliant Luke is directing our TV output. Dean is producing the show. Matt is pressing the buttons. And Kira is taking your calls, so give Kira a call right now. Do you feel sorry for Sir Keir Starmer? 0344 499 1000. Let's talk. And let's do so in the company of two very good friends of mine, talk star Phil Dave, and live down the line, former Conservative MP and now very productive farmer Neil Parish. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Talk Breakfast. Neil, fantastic to see you. You are a veteran of UK politics, a veteran of the House of Commons. Do you have a tinge of sympathy for the Prime Minister?
I think we always do. We Brits, we always say resign, resign, resign. And then when somebody resigns, we always have a sort of slightly think, oh, well, you know, he wasn't that bad a man. But I think the trouble is, Mark, he was just not that political leader, was he? And he was just accident prone. He wouldn't stick to things. And of course, you see, he kept on much about his big mandate that he had. But you see, he didn't have a popular mandate. He only had 33% of the population voting for him. They voted for him because they wanted to get the Tories out. The votes on the right were split. And so he had a massive majority in Parliament, but a very small majority, well, no majority in public vote. And of course, everything got worse as time went on. He shilly-shallied. And then the Mandelson affair, everything. They started off so badly with, taking away £300 from pensioners, and so all summer that disrupted the Labour Party and members, and the whole thing just started off badly and just got worse, really. And he never really had any control over the party or his cabinet. And of course, in the end, it's like Brutus. In the end, you don't know who your enemies are in politics, because they will come out and get you. And I imagine Starmer will go today, because I don't see the alternative, because this is the worst result that could have possibly happened for him, because not only has Burnham won, and I give credit to Burnham, because, he had to have guts to fight in that by-election, because, I said to you, didn't I, a month or 6 weeks ago, he hasn't got a hope in hell of winning that by-election. And he didn't only win it, he took sort of 54% of the vote, and he rides high in the Parliament. And of course, politics is about winning, and the trouble is, Burnham at the moment, and I just say at the moment, looks like a winner, and Starmer looks like a loser.
But Neil, you say that he sort of didn't stand a chance in that by-election. That was a very strong hold for Labour, so really you didn't think he stood a chance to win it?
No, I didn't, because you see, if you look at reform in the
local elections,
they had won 24 of the 25 seats. Labour was right down on 24% of the vote. What Burnham managed to do, wasn't he? He squeezed the Conservative vote, but he particularly squeezed the Liberal Democrat and Green votes to virtually nothing. And of course, Restore didn't help reform, but even with the Restore vote, they got nowhere. Once you get over 50% of the vote, of course, you're home and dry, aren't you? Whoever stands. And so, no, I didn't. I'd be quite honest with you. I thought it was going to be an uphill fight. I think he had some luck, because there were problems with the Reform candidate, with some of the things he said about women and also were pretty bad. And so it all started off badly for Reform. Burnham sort of hesitated to start with, I felt, but he built into the campaign. And then in the end, it was all about get Burnham in, get Starmer out. And it wasn't really a vote about the Labour Party, was it? It was a vote about what was going to happen in Westminster. So I think that's what carried him through. But no, I give him full credit, because I don't know whether I would have stood in those circumstances, because the trouble is, if he'd lost, you see, I know he could have carried on being mayor, but you are dead in the water, basically. And no full credit to the man.
Yes, he took a risk. He gambled.
He took a risk, and it paid off. And it looks and it looks like it's paid off handsomely, doesn't it? But we will see, Mark. He has not yet gone, the man. But,
how does it work? How does it work, Neil, when a prime minister is considering their position? I understand that he's in checkers with his wife Victoria at the moment, Lady Starmer. We're told he's speaking to friends and trusted colleagues, although that's a diminishing group of people. So
it shouldn't take too long.
What are the logistics? What do you think's happening right now, or what will be happening in the course of the day?
Yeah, well, it will be. He'll be talking to close friends and colleagues. The trouble is in politics, Mark, and it doesn't matter what party you are, as soon as you are on the way out, you do not know who your friends are. And, there are a number of Brutuses, I imagine, in the cabinet. I won't name them, but they're there. And they're just waiting for the tide to turn. And as far as they're concerned, I think they believe the tide has turned. I think if he's wise, Keir Starmer, he will go, because, if he fought, and they drive it into, into a leadership contest, they'll all but destroy the Labour Party, and they'll make it they'll still not be able to govern afterwards. Because this is largely what happened to the Tory party in the end. We got so trigger happy, we just kept shooting leaders and let's have another one, and it really destroyed the party. And people just think, well, all you're interested is in your party, you're not interested in the country. And so, if Labour's got any sense, and if Starmer's got any sense, he'll go with a bit of dignity, because, you see, if he drags this out, it's very unlikely he would hold on. And it would just be awful, wouldn't it? He's laid down, didn't he, last week? We tried to ban social media for young people, which is right if you can make it work. He's got that down, I think, as one of his legacies, because I think you'll find he's been fairly sure that he's going, despite all he's been saying. It is, like I said, I do have a little bit of sadness for the man, but like I said, he hasn't helped himself. Mandelson obviously had a grip over the Labour Party. I've never quite worked out what, because, Blair brought him back, Brown brought him back, and Starmer gave him that great job is our ambassador in America. It's all very, very odd, especially when they knew a lot about what Mandelson had been up to.
Phil, is there any positive legacy for Sir Keir Starmer?
When he finally agrees to leave.
It's hard to find anything. There's nothing on the economy, is there?
I can't personally think of anything off the top of my head, and I obviously sort of surround myself in news and politics quite a lot, so maybe I'm being unfair by not recalling any good he's done, but I truly can't think of it off the top of my head. But I will say, whilst I am thinking about it, I think that Starmer's premiership can be summed up quite simply, and actually where his downfall really began, is that he never learnt in politics that you don't pander to the minority and expect a good outcome. Because by reckoning, if you pander to the minority, the majority will be unhappy.
Well, I think that's a very fair point. Now, Neil, it seems to me that Andy Burnham in Makerfield conducted a very similar campaign, a similar type of messaging to Starmer in 24, which is, don't give any details about what you will actually do. It appears to have worked, and he's likely going to be our next Prime Minister. So what kind of Prime Minister is he going to be? What can we expect from Andy Burnham in number 10?
Well, he is going to move to the left. We are going to get more taxation. We are going to get more borrowing. I don't agree with it. I'm a politician on the right. I'm a Conservative. But if that's the way they want to go, let them go and let the British people decide. Now, that the interesting thing will be, Mark, isn't it, is if he gets a little bit of a bounce, will he go for a general election? It's very risky strategy. But the trouble is, if you don't go with your bounce, it won't be long before Burnham will be. The cost of living crisis is still there. We've still got problems with the economy. They're overtaxing, and he'll tax more. And I think you'll find things will get worse, not better. And it's going to be interesting for Andy Burnham, because, and I do wish him well, but I don't like his politics particularly, because I think they are very damaging. Excuse me, very damaging for the economy in the long run. So I think this is fascinating time in politics, as always, and I think you'll find he wants to bask in his popularity while it's there, because I rather fear it won't last long, because not just because of Andy Burnham, just because that's the nature of politics at the moment. We can't, governments can't deliver what they say. They always overpromise, and people get disillusioned. They're beginning to get disillusioned with reform now, and some of them are voting for restore. Let's have something different. And I think that's the case with Labour, with the Greens on their left. And it's still, the political world, although you could change the leader and you will, Andy Burnham will be more popular for a bit. I don't think the general trend in what's happening in British politics and where people are suffering under, the cost of living crisis and everything else that's going on out there, I don't think they're feeling very happy, and rightly so. And I just don't see the solution that Labour has got will work, because I think the youth unemployment. It's lovely to put up the minimum wage, but when you do that, you make it more expensive to employ youngsters. So you employ people a little bit older because they've got more experience, and then you put huge pressure. Then you try and bring in some complicated scheme to try and get young people into work. That the whole thing is madness, really. And I could rant and rave all morning, Mark, but I won't, I promise.
Well, no, we love it when you do, because you're right about youth unemployment. In fact, I think, Phil, Dave, unemployment is one of the great negatives of this administration, and it comes from the nixed tax raid in the first budget, and it comes from the red tape, and it comes from the workers' rights, and it comes from that hike in the minimum wage for young workers.
I think it runs much deeper than that. Yes, all of those things are relevant, but actually I believe where it really comes from is from the Blair era, where he spent most of his time in office telling this country that those of us who have been here for goodness knows how many years are too good to do certain jobs. And you can just see now in hindsight, it was a ploy just to increase migration, because basically it meant that we couldn't find the workers, in inverted commas, in this country, because Blair elevated everyone out of it.
Because if you tell people that half the population, they should go to university, the subtext of that, the message is, don't work in a care home, don't pull pints in the pub.
Absolutely. And then sort of as a result of it, what's happened is now successive generations have been brought up to believe that as well, where what we actually should do is return to the messages saying work within your means. There's absolutely nothing wrong whatsoever with working within one's means. In fact, if anything, it's the key to being more successful in life, because if you work within your means, you're much better off, or got a better chance, I should say, of actually succeeding in whatever you're going to do. So, for example, with me, I've always been fascinated with medicine, but I've always said there's no way that I could ever become a doctor or anything like that, because I'm simply not academic enough.
No.
So, you just work within your means, you're fine.
Starmer is a spineless appeaser, says Kevin in Barnstable. A goon who doesn't know right from wrong when it comes down to it. In short, he's an overambitious so-and-so who has been found lacking. He bullies soft targets but cades for tougher opponents. He obfuscates on the serious challenges such as the boats, law and order, the rape gangs, the failures of the public services and the BBC, but comes down hard on the right. Maybe Burnham will show a touch of class and put up Maggie's picture where Starmer had it removed. Phil, Dave just summed it up very nicely. Starmer is a cowardly panderer. God bless you and talk. Have a nice day. Kevin, you too.
Thank you. Do you know what? I might suggest, actually, Neil, I wonder whether or not if in your time in politics you've ever recalled a Prime Minister who has literally, for as long as I can remember, never answered one question ever put to him at PMQs.
Yeah, I mean, certainly he's very bad. And of course, what Starmer is very bad at is off-the-cuff stuff.
Yes.
You see, he's a typical lawyer, if I may say so. He prepares himself well. When he's got the brief in front of him, he's absolutely fine. And that's why Kemi Badenoch, now she's got into her stride, is really getting under his skin, because she is very quick on her feet. She's very clear, and he doesn't like that, you see. He doesn't like a direct question, as you quite rightly say. And you mean, look, before he became prime minister, he had to work out for quite a long time what a woman was, whether how they were a woman, and where and all of these things. He just has not been clear and decisive, has he? And I think the British people like a decisive prime minister. They don't always agree with them. I mean, look at Margaret Thatcher. I mean, all right, she went off the rails slightly at the end, but during her period in office, she was really quite strident. A lot of people didn't like her, but a lot of people did, because she stuck to what she said. And that's what they like. And I think you're absolutely right with Starmer. I mean, what did Starmer, this will be the interesting analysis, Mark, won't it, is what did really Starmer stand for? What has this, government been about? And I think, I'm afraid that's what his legacy will be. Probably you can say on foreign policy, if you want to give Starmer, a little bit of credit, he likes the world stage and he has performed well on it. But you don't remain prime minister just on the foreign stage. And of course, prime ministers, when they're, in danger at home and unpopular, the foreign stage is always where they go.
It is, and I personally think it is easier. And of course, let's not forget that tied in with his foreign policy, Neil, was the Chagos Islands giveaway, which is hopefully going to be blocked by Trump, and also the torching of the special relationship by not even allowing American jets to refuel on a British airbase, which I think was a huge mistake, a view shared by Tony Blair. Delighted to say that Neil Parish is remaining with us for his analysis of the situation. This is Talk Breakfast, but it's basically Keir Starmer's leaving party. Do you feel sorry for him? 0344 499 1000. Isabel is in Kent. Good morning, Isabel. She says, top of the morning, Mark. Thoroughly enjoying the show as usual. Do I feel sorry for Starmer? No, I can't say I do. It always looked likely to end this way. His premiership has been a textbook example of the Peter principle, and a fair few of his colleagues seem determined to prove the theory applies more widely. I'm not convinced Burnham would be any better. God help the country. Keep up the good work. Well, Isabel, thank you for that. My thanks to the brilliant Phil Dave, who owned it on the early breakfast show this morning. He'll be back very soon to the airwaves. And thanks for joining us on Talk Breakfast. Lots more to come. Do you feel sorry for Keir Starmer? This is Talk Breakfast 7:22.
It's just over a decade ago that Emily Thornberry put out that scornful tweet. Do you remember? Yeah. White van man in Rochester with a big Union flag, and oh, how ghastly, how awful. Are these people simply frightful? And I'm afraid not all, but many Lib Dems are the same. What they're ashamed of is the English flag. Scottish flag, fine. Welsh flag, fine. Irish, everything like that's marvellous. But no. We can't be English. And this has been going on for a long, long time. Raise the colours. Do you know what? I absolutely love it.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Talk Breakfast 7:29. Do you feel sorry for Sir Keir Starmer? Front page of the Mail on Sunday. Kemi, why I will never do a deal with Nigel Farage. Kemi Badenoch has killed off any prospect of an electoral pact with Nigel Farage after Reform UK's poor showing in last week's by-elections. Let's get reaction from the former Conservative MP, broadcaster and farmer Neil Parish. Neil, lovely to have you on the show. Are you surprised that Kemi has made this move this early?
No, I don't. I'm not surprised because she is a very decisive character. I think the issue in politics at the moment is that I think that Reform are certainly very strong and will remain strong, but they're not as strong as they were. And so I think her view is that she will fight the Conservatives, you know, for the Conservatives and with the Conservatives, and let's take on Farage and Reform. Now, it's quite a dangerous game because you split the right-wing vote. But of course, Nigel Farage is not an easy man to do a deal with, because at the end of the day, it's very much about his deal he would want. And so I imagine, you know, Kemi Badenoch has weighed all these things up. You see, I've said all along, haven't I, Mark, for several months now and probably a year, that I think as the general election approaches, the Conservative vote will rise, the Reform vote will come back a bit, and I think we'll probably be on fairly even polling rates come the general election, because people will be looking for an alternative government, not just you know, a protest vote. So I think she's gambling on all this. I think she is taking a brave political decision. That is what Kemi is like, and we will see whether it proves to be right or not. But I think, you see, it's very difficult to negotiate. Remember, I think it was on another news station. I was arguing with one of Reform's councillors, you know, after their great success, and oh no, they don't need any Conservative support. They can do it all on their own. You see, of course, they were riding very high at that time, and I said at the time, you won't do it on your own, and I think so. Therefore, I think Kemi is right. I've always been a supporter of Kemi, as you know, and I will back her, and we'll see where all this goes, Mark, because it's very difficult at the moment for the right of politics, because we are, I understand, splitting each other's votes.
She is a big talent. Do you agree with her then that she shouldn't do a pre-election deal with Farage?
Yes, because the trouble is, it's very interesting to talk about a deal, but it then gets down really in a deal. Are you going to go the whole hog and say, right, some seats Reform will stand in, other seats Conservatives will stand in, and we won't fight each other? You'll find that to try and actually achieve that with individual Conservatives, individual Reform candidates wanting to just stand in particular seats, you'll find it's an absolute minefield. And so it's one of those things that in principle sounds like a really good idea, but in practice, I can assure you, trying to get candidates to stand down and others to stand up, if you like, would be very, very difficult.
Is it a bit of an empty pledge by Kemi Badenoch? Is this cheap politics, given the fact that no such deal was on the table? I sat down for an hour with Nigel Farage last week. The interview is for the Daily Express. It's an exclusive and it drops on Tuesday. And he said he would never do a deal with Kemi Badenoch. So he's ahead of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is politics, with a capital P at the real centre of this. I think, like I said, you can't negotiate with somebody who doesn't want to negotiate. So you're probably in her case absolutely better off saying, right, I'm not going to. But I don't think she would have done very easily anyway, because of the point I reiterate, Mark, like I said, the principle is okay. But like many things in politics, and having, spent my life between local government, Parliament, European Parliament, and goodness knows what, I have seen all the problems.
Well, Neil, it worked very well in 2019 when Nigel stood down several prospective parliamentary candidates, which gifted Boris Johnson his huge majority. And there's a lot at stake here, Neil, because we have the prospect of either another 5 years of Labour after the next general election, or even worse, a rainbow coalition. So surely the likes of Kemi, Rupert and Nigel need to think about that.
I think so, but I think you'll find now is probably not the time.
Would your argument be you do a deal after the election under the circumstances of a hung parliament? Is that your solution? We'll sort it out after the election.
Yes, because I think trying to sort out it, as I'm sorry to keep repeating the point, but trying to get, particular candidates to stand down in constituencies that they want to fight, you'll end up getting, independents standing and all sorts. And I think, like I said, it's a wonderful solution in theory, but in practice, I think it could be a real pig's breakfast. And so I think, and I don't think it's going to happen at the moment with the attitude of Nigel Farage, because he doesn't want to do a deal. So, like I said, until both parties, it's a bit like the Middle East, isn't it? Trying to do a deal with the Iranians. Until they want to do a deal, very difficult to do it. And however many bombs Trump, drops, it's still difficult.
Listen, I agree. The Middle East, is like the Queen's Garden Party compared to the British right in this country, who are fighting like rats in a sack. Rupert in one corner, Nigel in another corner, Kemi in another corner. May God help us. Neil,
it's not just the right that are fighting, are they? You've got the Greens fighting the Labour Party, and so I mean, I've never, every time I say to you, I've never seen anything like this in British politics. Well, I haven't,
But I'm a bit worried. I hear what you're saying. You're right. The on the right of politics they are fractured, and on the left they are as well. My worry about the left, though, Neil, is that they're more coordinated than the right, and they are united around a common enemy, and that is Nigel Paul Farage. My worry is that the left are more inclined to unite than the right.
Yes, I think you're right. But I think the trouble is with the characters involved, I think it's going to be almost impossible to do a deal. But you see, I think what will...
Bless you, Neil, bless you.
What will, sorry, I got a cough this morning. What will bring both Nigel and Kemi to the negotiating table is when the opinion polls between the two parties are much tighter. At the moment, you see, Nigel Farage can argue that we don't need the Conservatives and Reform will do it on its own. It won't, actually. And I think, like I've said before, that it will get tighter, and that's possibly when some sort of deal can be done. But like I said, it is quite difficult to deliver on the ground.
I mean, just briefly,
I still wouldn't rule it out.
You wouldn't rule it out. No, and I hear you. And clearly, if there was a deal, Neil, it would have to be a secret deal. It would be an unspoken deal where we try a bit less hard in that constituency.
Yes, exactly.
Or t'other.
That's right.
And that, of course, it would be politically palatable because Kemi and Nigel and Rupert could say nothing to see here, there's no deal, but in the background there is. The issue you've also got with the left is, and left-wing voters, is tactical voting, and that seems to be a new political weapon, Neil.
Yeah, they started it in the last general election. It was effective. They've worked it out now. There's no doubt that Burnham used it very effectively now, didn't he, in this by-election? Because, like I said, he squeezed all the Liberal and Green vote out of the system, and fair play to him. But yes, it is. And you see, you've got all these websites you can now go on, in each seat to tell you which party to vote for to actually stop a particular party getting in. In the general election last time, it was Conservatives. This time, it might well be the anti-reform vote. But you see, the other problem Reform has is that you see Restore is now sort of building up, and of course, some of the problem they've got is that they're saying, well, you've got too many ex-Tories in your ranks, you see. And so politics at the moment on the right, as you quite say, is a pig's breakfast.
It most definitely is. And Neil, I do hear you about no official deals before the election, sorted out in the event of a hung parliament. I think that's a fair point. The only worry for the country is whether the numbers add up under those circumstances. It's quite a roll of the dice, given that what the left could do is combine the forces of Labour, the SNP, potentially the Greens and the Lib Dems. So we shall wait and see. Before I let you go, Neil, the Prime Minister, considering his position, he's in checkers at the moment. If he decides that he is going to fall on his sword, which looks likely, will we get a statement tomorrow? What do you expect the timeline to be?
Yeah, I mean, I think if he decides, to go, he will need to go quickly, and he will need to make a statement straight away. That the worst of all worlds would be for him to linger. I'm not convinced that you can stay there for any length of time and allow, a coronation of Burnham and just let it do gradually. I think it's got to be a fairly brutal process. I think Starmer will need to leave, and Burnham will come in as the next Prime Minister. You see, the trouble is Keir Starmer won't be able to control the cabinet. He won't be able to control. He hasn't been able to control it before, and he certainly isn't going to be in these.
So just taking me through the logistics briefly, if you can, Neil. So obviously this is hypothetical and subject to the minutiae of the process, but let's imagine that he makes a statement at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning from Downing Street, and he'll talk about his legacy and breakfast clubs and lifting the two-child benefit cap, not participating in the Iran war. I know the script already, so do you, so do our audience. So a statement at, let's say, hypothetically, 11 a.m., there's unlikely to be a lengthy leadership contest. Andy Burnham will probably receive a coronation. So under those circumstances, Neil, on what occasion does he enter number 10? Well, what is the timeline for him becoming PM? Is it July? When would it happen?
Very quickly, if Starmer actually resigns, right, and resigns both as Prime Minister and leader of the Labour Party, then immediately there is no reason why that especially if there is no contest within the Labour Party for the leadership, which I doubt there would be, then I think Burnham will be in before the end of this Parliament that recesses on the 15th of July, because there's nothing to stop it. The problem will be is if he just says he's going at a certain date but doesn't resign tomorrow, and that's when the whole thing gets thrown into flux. And for the Labour Party itself, it will be a disaster because, like I said, Burnham has a head of steam behind him. But as I said to you earlier in the interview, the steam will come out of the boiler quite fast if you're not careful. And so momentum is everything. And so Starmer needs to go tomorrow, and then I think Burnham will be Prime Minister I suspect in early July. Actually, I mean, don't forget when we replace leaders, we got quite good at it in the end, didn't he? Too good at it. And it was a very fast process if there wasn't a actual contest, you see. Because it's the contest, it's the internal contest within the Labour Party that will take the time, not replacing the Prime Minister, because if one resigns, another one comes along, and they're almost immediately put in place, if that's the agreement of the Labour Party. And so it'll be for the Labour Party to decide how they bring in their new leader, and it will be for Starmer to actually resign. And if he tries this business of, hang on for a bit longer, I think that will just be painful for him, painful for the country, and painful for the Labour Party and all of us that watch it. It'll give you plenty of time on air, Mark, to talk about it, but that will be a disaster. So if Starmer goes quickly, then Burnham will also, I suspect, there will be a coronation, despite what some of Labour are saying. And because you see, not only has he's won high, he's won against reform, he's ticked all the boxes. And he will be the next Prime Minister.
If only it was Neil Parish heading for number 10. Neil, a privilege to have you on the show. And there you go. You have an exclusive on Talk Breakfast. Former senior Conservative MP Neil Parish suggesting there that if Starmer resigns tomorrow, which we're expecting, Burnham is in number 10 by early July. Do you feel sorry for Starmer? This is Talk Breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Talk Breakfast 7:41. Do you feel sorry for Sir Keir Starmer? Barry is in Norwich in East Anglia. Good morning, Barry.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. Going to get to your point about Andy Burnham in a moment, the Tories. There's a lot of context to this, but just on a human level, do you feel sorry for Sir Keir Starmer?
No. Do you think Keir Starmer felt sorry for the pensioners when he stopped their winter fuel payment?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't feel sorry for the individual at all.
No. Does he feel sorry for the veterans who are going to be prosecuted because of his change to the law, which allows those who serve this country to be sued?
Exactly. The man hates this country. Yeah, he said it himself. He'd rather be in Davos than in Westminster.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an absolute, just a disgrace. I mean, I'm a British citizen. I was born here. Yeah, I feel like I am not a citizen in my own country. I feel like I am last on the list for everything. Yeah, I feel like I'm working for nothing. Yeah, I think that. Personally speaking, I think that there should be a general election. I don't think anybody, if I was a Labour MP, right, in the Houses of Parliament, I'd be sitting to myself and thinking, right, there's a few hundred of us here, and my party thinks that none of us is good enough to replace Keir Starmer. They have to parachute somebody in, who just walks in, right, and just takes over at the reins. I find this absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah.
The arrogance of it. Yeah.
Well, I think arrogance is a big word, isn't it? And it's the word that sums up this premiership, I think, and this government.
Yeah, I mean, what did they say? They were going to replace the Tories and not all the sleaze. I mean, from day one, it was just a catastrophe. Yeah, I mean, with all the freebies and everything else that was going on.
I know, it started badly and it went downhill from there, didn't it, Baz?
Yeah, I mean, I blame the Tories for this. Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, if they would have done what they said they were going to do, right? These illiterate idiots, and I'm sorry to say this, wouldn't be anywhere near power.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact being we've got someone like David Lammy as Deputy Prime Minister who couldn't answer questions on Mastermind. Yeah? I mean, it's just... And I just think a general election needs to be called, and we should sweep away all the rubbish, like Donald Trump said once, drain the swamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And get reform in there. Now, I'm not a reform voter, do you know what I mean? But, because they filled it up with ex-Tories, people that I voted against. But, we need to give them a chance, at least, and we need to get someone in there who's going to put the rights of British citizens first, going to put Britain first, going to put workers first, going to stop this benefit lifestyle that people are on, do you know what I mean? Yeah, right. How does it happen that we actually take in more, we actually give out more in benefits than we take in tax?
It's dysfunctional. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a broken system. It's a joke. Barry, what a brilliant call. I wish we had longer. We'll speak soon. Go and have a great Sunday. Mary's in Hemel Hempstead. Mary, do you feel sorry for Sir Keir Starmer?
No, Mark. It's all of his own doing. I don't know how a man like this even got into the position he's in. Just sheer fluke. He wouldn't even be suitable for middle management.
I wouldn't put him in charge of a company. The guy couldn't run a bath.
No, you're right. I mean, how did he get to where he is? That's always astounded me. Head of the CPS. I mean, we understand all he did was to direct which courts they were going to. Well, he could have done that to be an usher. He's done nothing for this country. From the first beginning, from the very get-go when he came in power, he stood up in that garden in Tumberton and he told how terrible things were and how awful it was and all this, and he's done everything to carry on doing it. He shows no loyalty to his country, he showed no loyalty to his party, and he's shown no loyalty to the people who supported him.
Well, I think that's fair. And Mary, do you have any hope in Andy Burnham? Could he do a better job?
Well, unknown quantity, I'm afraid. He just seems to be there at the right place at the right time.
I know what you mean. The guy has said nothing about what he would do.
I know, but, he's an unknown quantity at the moment. Who knows is he going to do more damage? Is he going to mellow? Is he going to be worse? Who can tell? The time will tell, I'm afraid, Mark.
Mary, you've been around the block a couple of times. You're a very experienced lady. Have you lived through a worse Prime Minister than Keir Starmer?
Theresa May was as bad. She was very disloyal to her country.
Net zero, a watered-down Brexit.
I'm trying to think of it in the past. Callaghan wasn't much good.
Well, no, that paved the way for Thatcher, didn't it? His failures in office.
Yes, he wasn't much good. Harold Wilson was a shifty character, really. And I often wonder, because I understand more minds closed under Harold Wilson than under Mrs. Thatcher.
That is 100% correct, and you're right to set that record straight, and actually it was inevitable. I think the legacy of Thatcher, what's unfortunate and regrettable and bad, is the neglect of those mining communities when the coal mines were shut down. Mary, again, I wish we had longer. It's been a while. Lovely to hear your voice again. We will speak soon. Do you feel sorry for Keir Starmer? 7:47, this is Talk Breakfast.
it's just over a decade ago that Emily Thornberry put out that scornful tweet. Do you remember?
Yeah.
White van man in Rochester with a big Union flag, and you know, oh, how ghastly, how awful. Aren't these people simply frightful? And I'm afraid not all, but many Lib Dems are the same. What they're ashamed of is the English flag. Scottish flag, fine. Welsh flag, fine. Irish, everything like that's marvellous. But no. We can't be English. And this has been going on for a long, long time. Raise the colours. Do you know what? I absolutely love it.
The Crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in crisis. Subscribe to the royalty from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
7:50 Talk Breakfast. Lovely to have your company. What are you up to this Sunday morning? Have you had your first cup of tea yet? Get the kettle on, because we got work to do. I've just poured myself a cup of tea from the Talk kitchen. I don't use the Talk Sport kitchen because it's contaminated. We'll get to that another time. Let's talk about Prince Harry, who is going to receive royal accommodation when he visits the United Kingdom with his wife Meghan and his children in July. Let's get reaction from a very good friend of mine, Talk's royal correspondent, Rupert Bell. Good morning, Rupert.
Good morning. I've got my cup of coffee, and my kitchen's not in a condemned condition. So, as opposed to the fellow radio station's kitchen. But anyway,
well, I've heard that the fragrant Mrs. Bell is quite the domestic goddess.
Thankfully, yes, she's a very good cook. Anyway, move on, Harry.
I won't get you in trouble. No. This news that the Sussexes are returning to the UK with the children was a bombshell, but it's been followed up by the news that they'll be staying in a royal estate.
And the cynic in me, funny enough, it was announced on the day that we see the Prince and Princess of Wales at Ascot, where, of course, that was her first return since her cancer diagnosis. So there was a lot of interest surrounding that. But it does seem to be remarkable how the Sussex camp always do manage to shoe in a major announcement here or there, or an Instagram post just when the rest of the royal family are going about their business. And Royal Ascot is part social, parts formal occasion for the King and the royal family. So it was interesting that. But going to a royal residency, he's always said that he questioned the security, that's Harry, when he comes to Britain. And most people sort of roll their eyes at that. And he says, well, if I go to a palace, I'm a bit of a sitting duck if I'm coming in and out of the entrances. Well, why does he think, and this I think is what people question, that he's more at risk than any other members of the royal family? And you think that Prince Andrew's now, or Andrew, as I should say, is living in Norfolk, where perhaps he might be more vulnerable. So it's always something that's left people slightly bewildered. But I think the King, as his, wants to repair damage with his son. So maybe this is an olive branch, but I still think there's going to be a lot of distrust within royal circles about the motives and what will be the end. What's the end game for the Sussexes with regard to this? Is it just simply repairing relationships with his father so that he can see his grandchildren, or is it something wider that is at play here? You don't see Meghan rushing to repair relationships with her father, it would seem. So, again, maybe there is some sort of cynicism again about the motives behind this, although he is coming back, and let's be clear, Mark, with the Invictus Games launch a year ahead. So I can see him being here for that and his other charities, but the whole package, that is something that I suppose does leave some people feeling slightly cynical.
And I think you're entitled to interrogate this one, Rupert, given the track record of the company. No Instagram post, no outfit, no fake royal tour is done without a strategic approach. They are very, very controlled in their public messaging. I suspect it comes from the Duchess of Sussex, but that's a matter of opinion. Can I ask you, Rupert, the news of their arrival into the UK with the kids for the first time since 2022 in July of this year, that could have been a unilateral decision made by Harry and his wife. But with Harry staying in a royal residence, does that imply a royal blessing for this trip?
Well, I suppose someone has to green light it. So in some essence, yes. At the heart of it, Harry is coming over. And I think the King doesn't, as he said, he's aware of his own mortality following his own cancer diagnosis. So I think he does want to make sure there is nothing left. You know, he doesn't want to go, you know, feeling that he hasn't made an effort. So I think if you look at it, if you take the human side of it and take the royal bit away, trying to repair a relationship with his son. And that is something that can often happen the length and breadth of the country. So if you take the human side of it, then you can understand. But of course, with the nature of what this is about, it has a wider implication. But that's why I say, what is the end game? You know, he says he's living his best life, Harry. You know, going to NBA games, going to, and there were photographs coming out helping service war veterans in America, the weekend of the Trooping of the Colour. You know, again, all these things going on. So he's clinging on to his sort of royal status. And I think, again, that is what frustrates elements of the royal household. But at the heart of it, I do think there is an attempt at some sort of family reconciliation.
Do you know which of those royal residences he'll be staying at? It's unlikely to be Buckingham Palace because, as you said, he's suggested in the past that that's actually too exposed a location. St James's Palace? Would it be Sandringham? Would it be the Windsor Estates? Where might he stay?
Well, I think Buckingham Palace is under major renovation, so I think that becomes a more of a complicated one. I am sure there are plenty. Windsor Castle, you could think, but, you know, what does that mean with his brother just down the road at Forest Lodge? There are obviously options within London, Kensington Palace. So where he goes, again, I think that's open to conjecture. Quite often
have you got any spare rooms in your house?
Not enough for probably the entourage that would come with the Sussexes. So it might be compact and bijou.
Well, I think what I worry about, you're a very convivial personality, Rupert, but I do fear that there could be fisticuffs between the fragrant Mrs. Bell and Meghan.
Anyway, I couldn't possibly comment.
Because your better half takes no prisoners and Meghan falls out with everyone.
You're absolutely right there, but anyway, anyway. So we're not here to discuss.
There's no room. There's no room at the inn. By the way, how do you think the likes of William will receive this news that his brother will be staying in a royal residence on his return?
I think obviously maybe not particularly happy because he feels he's been the brunt of all the comments from Harry and the breakdown of the relationship between Catherine and Meghan. So I don't think they'll be rushing because I think trust has to be established. So whatever happens during this visit, what the royal family and particularly maybe William and Catherine and other members will want to see, do we end up hearing about it? And that, I think, is the thing. If it's a private visit, yes, we can see Harry doing his Invictus stuff and the more formal side of it, maybe going to see a well child or other charities that he's involved in. But when it comes to the sort of private side, no one in the royal household wants to suddenly hear an exclusive interview with Meghan or drip feeding reports to somewhere.
You know as well as I do, Rupert, the problem with this return to the UK, it's more material for the follow-up to the book Spare, more material for another Netflix documentary, more podcasts, an Oprah interview, the sequel, the list goes on. A couple of quick ones before you go, Rupert. First of all, I want to ask you about Prince Harry, an exclusive from Richard Eden of the Daily Mail, that this generous personal donation of over £1 million to children in need, which is a very worthy cause, did not come from Prince Harry's personal finances. So did he mislead people, given the fact that the cash came from a charitable foundation started by his mother, Diana?
Well, this is where some of the problems with his links to charities and what he actually does with the money. Now, therein lies part of the problem. And, you know, he's had problems with the Centre Barley charity, the Royal Parks charity, and there are even, you know, various allegations surrounding what is he doing with the charitable money. So this, again, it just questions everything that's going on.
Well, it wasn't his money, was it? Yeah. He did not donate £1 million from his bank account to the children in need.
No. And again, so
and that impression, he allowed that impression to be perceived.
Yeah, and that is the problem. It's in doing good thing, and there, you know, you hear charity, and then you look at the small print and say, look, I've signed it off, so I've agreed, but you know, again, you're playing with words, but in a sense, image is everything in these cases.
Most definitely. Rupert, we love having you on the show. We didn't have time for King Charles opening his books. He's going to publish his tax details, which I think is a good thing. Rupert, stay away from the tax man. It never ends well. We'll catch up soon. This is Talk Breakfast.
Some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the home of common sense.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Top of the morning to you. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan.
Some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the home of common sense.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Top of the morning to you. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan.
Some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the home of common sense.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Top of the morning to you. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan.
Some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the home of common sense.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Top of the morning to you. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan.
Some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
3 minutes past 8. Talk Breakfast, Mark Dolan with you for a very busy show. I'm actually in the hot seat today and tomorrow, which is significant. Because in the next 24 hours, we are likely to hear and receive the resignation of Sir Keir Starmer. So at 3 minutes past 8 on a Sunday morning, get the kettle on. You and I have got work to do. Breaking this morning, the end of the affair. It is over for Starmer. The fat lady hasn't just sung, she's in a cab on her way home. We are expecting the resignation of the Prime Minister tomorrow. This is a man who has been in post as PM for less than 2 years, following a remarkable election victory in 2024. But it's been a short-lived premiership, which is likely going to end in tears. We will bring reaction from across the political spectrum. And I've got a simple question for you this morning. Do you feel sorry for Sir Keir Starmer? Now, Kira is taking your calls this morning, so pick up the phone, 0344 499 1000. Tell her what you think. We're going to put it on the radio and on the telly. Do you feel sorry for Starmer? What went wrong? Is he the worst Prime Minister ever? I'll be dealing with Keir Starmer in no uncertain terms in a special Dolan's Dispatch at 9 a.m. It might get me cancelled. Good! Cancel me! I'm going to say what I think. That's the magic of this place. You see, you get so many presenters and they pivot, don't they? And they think one thing on a Tuesday and another thing on a Thursday. Politicians are like that as well. Starmer's like that. Burnham's like that. Well, here on Talk Breakfast with Mark Dolan, what you see is what you get. I've thought the same thing since I was born. Because I'm not climbing the slippery political pole, but I want to know what you think. Do you feel sorry for the guy? Is it sad? 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk in your message to 87222. Leaves a voice note. Guys, let's get going with the voice notes if we can. And let's talk. Kira is taking your calls. And who's directing our TV output? Because we had the brilliant Luke. Helena, this is very exciting. Helena, try and get my best side if you can. Good luck with that. A very warm, pardon? Kalila. A warm welcome to Kalila. Oh, my goodness, can I apologise? I've butchered your lovely name. Write it on the screen for me. I think there's an HR coming on this one. I think this will be my show as well. I'm going to resign. Sir Keir and I are going to resign at the same time. It's Dolan's leaving party now. But yes, you can hear us on the radio, DAB+, in-app and online. And you can watch the show and you can see Dolan's Dispatch and my amazing studio guests as well. I'm delighted to say that this output is being directed by Kalila, a brand new member of the team, whose name I've just mastered. I mean, that's how quick I am. And the excellent Matt is pressing the buttons. Dean Spencer, our executive producer, fresh out of rehab, never looked better. I'm very proud. You shouldn't joke about these things. I'm very proud of his journey to sobriety. I'm just going to say, you shouldn't break the fourth wall, and we're talking about politics, but Dean Spencer, my executive producer, hasn't had a drink for 7 hours. And it brings a tear to my eye, I've got to tell you. What's that in your cup? Is that coffee in your cup? Looks suspiciously like Guinness to me. Folks, so much to get through, but let's have that conversation this morning. Do you feel sorry for the guy? 0344 499 1000. Let's talk. Oh, my goodness, these menus are getting longer and more career-threatening as time goes by. Please save me, Peter Barnes.
Good morning. I think you're somewhat on your own. Well done, Dean, for not having a drink for 7 hours. It's very impressive. Yeah.
Apparently it's 6 hours. There you go.
Oh, it's 6. Oh, there you go.
6 hours, 59 seconds. Listen, so good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
I want to get into the meat and two veg of all of this. I want to know what went wrong for Starmer, but I do want to start on a human note. Do you feel sorry for him?
No. Not at all. Everything that has happened to him has been of his own making. That's the important thing to remember when it comes to Keir Starmer. The decisions that he's made in Number 10 were only his decisions. The direction, the mood of the entire building and all of the country is looking at Number 10 going, what are you doing? Even the most devout Labour people that I know want the back of him because of what he's been able to kind of just blow up, in a want of a better phrase, because the nation was crumbling when the Tories left, and then somehow he managed to grind it into actual dust. And I don't know how he's done that in such a small amount of time, but he's just gone from catastrophe to catastrophe to catastrophe.
It started with Freebiegate, didn't it?
Freebiegate,
this is a multi-millionaire ex-lawyer. I mean, what is Starmer's net worth, Dean? It's got to be £5-6 million pounds.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Especially if you include the pension.
Oh yes,
and
yeah.
The large houses.
The pension that it has its own Act of Parliament, thanks to Keir Starmer.
That's a very good point. That's 100% true. That's not a conspiracy. Well, I've actually got a figure. The Prime Minister's reported net worth is £7.7 million.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that figure can fluctuate up and down, can't it? But it's a chunk of change.
Yes. Yeah. That guy does not need someone to buy him a suit.
No. And yet he's got a donor purchasing his spectacles.
Yeah.
And
Suits,
his suits, tickets to the Arsenal.
Yeah.
And that's how the Premiership started.
Yes. And it was the classic line of, we didn't break the law. And I think that's where he's always gone wrong, is in his mind, he's never understood the optics of politics. He's never understood how something can look to the public.
Like, for example, the appointment of Mandelson, which, again, no law was broken.
Yeah.
And no rules may have been bent.
Exactly. And that's
still the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, that's why he always clings to the process, because the process means he hasn't done anything wrong. So he has never understood that in politics you have the legal side of things and the optics side of things, and 9 times out of 10 it is the optics that take you down, because you're fighting a perception in the public, and when the public see you as the guy he's always got your hand in somebody else's pocket, that's how you're always going to be seen. The biggest downfall, I'll still say this, was the winter fuel allowance. I still think the winter fuel allowance was one of the biggest political catastrophes. It was an unforced error. They didn't have to do it. It was going after a very vulnerable group of people at a very harsh time. And then to say, well, the report never came across my desk, as though somehow that made everything okay when, you know, the policy impact papers and all the rest of it. I thought that to me was the big red flag that really said, this guy is just pushing ahead with whatever he wants to do. He's not listening to anybody. And when criticism comes along, he's already got the excuse in the back pocket. That's what really set the red flags off for me more than anything else. And then you had the farmers one, and then the way he's handled Iran and Donald Trump was just... Everyone always said at the beginning he seemed to be okay with, like, the Trump whisperer, and I think that was more Trump entertaining him more than anything else. I thought he found him quite funny. And then obviously that descended very quickly with the Chagos deal, which I still think needs a full investigation into. There is some dodgy things going on around that. It does not pass the whiff test at all.
Including the lawyers close to Starmer who have made a fortune.
Yes, and then you throw into that Lord Hermer, look at the Starmer's actions alongside with the going after the veterans. I look at this, the new Northern Ireland bill that's still terrifying veterans to this day. I do not understand how this guy managed to rise so far. I really, really don't. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. 9 times out of 10 this lot are too incompetent to be that clever, but I do think we do have to have a look at some of the decisions that were made by this government, why they were made, and who was having meetings with who, because something doesn't feel right when it came to this government.
Well, he's an inveterate globalist, isn't he? He said the true bit out loud. I prefer Davos in Switzerland to Westminster, which is the home of our democracy. Net zero, open borders, you know, the cult of welfareism, a dependent population, all of these are globalist themes, and he's signed up to it hook, line and sinker, which is why, by the way, I don't feel sorry for him, because when he ceases to be Prime Minister, he'll be straight off to Brussels.
Oh, yes, he'll already have something nice lined up, without a shadow of a doubt. But there's also one that's just coming into my mind, and I can't believe I forgot about it. I thought it was one of the blackest stains against this nation, the recognition of the state of Palestine, while there were still Israeli hostages.
Wild.
I thought that. I can't believe
Recognising the state of Palestine whilst the government of Palestine was Hamas, which is a terror organisation that wishes to kill all Jews.
Yeah, and they still had Israeli hostages.
You recognise Palestine outside of a war setting when it's run by an elected government with some blokes in suits called Steve, fine.
Yeah.
But a ragbag of terrorists who control Palestine and you gift them with recognition, with a diplomatic coup.
Yes, it staggers me. It genuinely staggers me. I also, you throw into this, why aren't the IRGC, what do you call it, a terrorist organisation underneath our law? You know, why has certain things not been done to tackle the problem? Prescribed, that's the word, thank you. Why has certain things not been done to tackle the problem of Islamic terrorism? What is it with this guy and the Labour government that will not do that? People have always said it's the voter base. I don't see that as the reason anymore, because that voter base doesn't exist for the Labour Party. So I do not understand why they will not do what is necessary and, you know, protect our borders, prescribe terrorist organisations and actually defend us. What is it with these people and their inability to defend us?
Well, I took a call earlier and this brilliant chap said to me that under Starmer he feels at the back of the queue.
Yes.
That he's a second-class citizen in his own country.
Yeah.
He feels overlooked and relegated. And that is a big problem. When there's a perception, you mentioned about perception is critical in politics, that your own people, that your own country's national interest is secondary, then you have a problem.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was involved in a debate not so long ago saying that do the Labour government hate the country? And I said no. I said they pity us. I said they look down on us. They look down at those of us who care about the flag and care about nationalism.
Contempt.
They have a level of contempt and they sneer at us. They think that we're the little people and they think that with their help we could be better people. And I think that is the big mentality of the Labour Party, and it has affected parts of the Conservative Party. I think it's throughout our politics and the establishment in general. It is the sneering that how dare you want to wave the St George's Cross? How do you know? Why would you want to do that? You know, it's such a little backward thing to do. That's the way that they think, and that mentality has been brought to the front by pushing us to the back.
Is the Brill Cream kid, old Andy Burnham, the big man, with the lush mane?
Yes, he's got very electable hair, as we always say.
Rich hair. Those
JFK
follicles
hair.
Are to die for. Eyebrows that would have Dennis Healey brushing.
That's a good one.
Is Andy Burnham going to be different? Will he do things differently, or is this Starmer 2.0? Is this Starmer in a sharp suit?
No, this is Starmer with a popularity rating. This is a more dangerous politician, because the thing with Starmer is he was always embedded to the backbenchers because he was unpopular. They could do what they wanted to him.
Yeah.
Andy Burnham has his own personal mandate. He's got his own branding. He's a known figure. Starmer wasn't really known to the public.
He can sell this better.
He's a much better communicator. He is a different type of politician. This is why I say to every political party, get your house in order and get to work today. Because if you think that by-election was a bit of a tough fight, I tell you right now, the general election is going to make it look like child's play, because Andy Burnham came to play and he brought his own ground. He's got his own campaign machine, his own branding, his own thing. And yes, you might like to say, well, yeah, you've had all these problems of the last 2 years. Well, he's going to be able to wipe that all away with a quicker general election, because he's not tarred with any of the Starmer drama. He's completely clean of it because he's not been involved. So that's why he's so unique, and that's why what makes him more dangerous. So I would say to the Tories, to Reform, Restore, whoever, you've got to get it sorted, get your candidates in place now, get out campaigning now, because he's going to be formidable to take down. He really, really is. He has the chance to be, what, 3-term Prime Minister, I think.
Wow, what a thought. Richard says, good morning, Mark, and good morning, Peter. One snake taking over from another. And we've got Peter here who's not pulling his punches. Starmer is the scab that never heals, but Andy will be the gangrene that attempts to kill this country. Well, folks, here's a question for you. What will Andy Burnham do when he gets into number 10? And will there be a snap election? That's next.
The Crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in crisis. Subscribe to the royalty from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Talk Breakfast 8:19, Dolan's Dispatch is on the way. A lot of us would like a snap election, given that we're getting a new Prime Minister. Peter Barnes, will we get one?
I think you'll probably get Greater Manchester Mayor election by the end of July. You might get a general election, maybe Christmas or within the new year. I'd be surprised if you wait any longer. I would genuinely will.
Well, I agree with you on that, because Burnham will quite provably be more popular in October, November, December of this year than he will in the years ahead.
Yes, because you've also got Labour Party conference that's coming up, obviously in this conference season. But also, it's like I said, he's not tarred with any of the mistakes, any of the things that have gone wrong. He gets to be the fresh face of the Labour Party. He gets to do what Jeremy Corbyn was actually quite good at doing, was somehow wiping away all the chaos of those years and being the new person. And to a degree, I think Kemi's actually been quite good at that as well. She's not really been tarred with much of anymore anyway, much of the Tory drama. She's
seen as new school.
Yes, she is. And I think it's I still think actually those defections may have done her more good than everybody said that they would have done her any harm, because I think she's cemented herself pretty good as the only Tory leader there is right now. So she's more safe than anybody else. But I've got to say, every other political party, this has really hurt the right. This by-election has really hurt the right of politics. There's a lot of very bruised egos. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of infighting and all the rest of it.
Fear.
And a lot of the fragility of the right.
Nigel Farage this week has been pale for the first time in his life.
Yes, really, yeah, I agree with that quite a lot, because I think he suddenly realised that...
He's very tanned, isn't he, Nigel?
Usually, yes. Well, that's what happens when you spend a lot of time in the UAE. But that'll get me into trouble. But, yeah, I think... Realistically, what needs to happen when it comes for the right to combat all of this is you don't have to live in the same house, you have to live on the same street. Be neighbourly. You don't have to be roommates. We have to get out of this idea of a coalition. It's not happening. So we have non-aggression pacts, maybe. We have different ways to make sure that the right can take on Andy Burnham.
Which is a deal that's not a deal.
Yes, so basically you stand a candidate, but you don't actively campaign as hard. You don't put as much kind of force into the constituency. You don't have many campaign days or that kind of thing.
Which is what the left will be doing.
Oh, they've already started doing it. I can guarantee you. There'll have already been some kind of... Well, I find it interesting that the Greens or the Lib Dems didn't really put up much of a fight, and the Greens were actually saying that they would pull their candidate at one point to back Andy Burnham. They're more likely to do it because now the left actually have a figure that could defeat Nigel Farage, because no matter what reforms say, this was a defeat. They lost. They should have won that seat, and they lost it, and therefore the left have found their vehicle to be able to get behind to push through.
I don't think... I very rarely disagree with you, because you have unusually the monopoly of wisdom. But I will say that what they were up against, yes, you had Rob Kenyon, I think is a terrific guy, plumber, and also I thought humiliated the Green Party candidate on Question Time by pointing out that if you have 10 million people coming into the country
poor woman.
over 15 years...
That's the woman I feel sorry for.
Yeah. If 10 million people come for 15 years, they will need somewhere to live.
Yes.
So I'm so sorry for bursting your bubble.
Well, you're having a bad day, just watch that back.
So Rob Kenyon, very decent guy, and by the way, probably will return potentially somewhere in the northwest. Who knows? But notwithstanding that, he wasn't a gifted communicator. No. There was his history on X, a couple of awkward tweets. And then you had a superstar candidate, a household name politician in Andy Burnham, and the historic opportunity to change Prime Minister with your vote in a by-election. So I think you're being a little harsh on... I know there's no love lost between you and the Reform Project, but I think on this one, I think that's a little unfair. I think what you could say is they should have run Labour a little closer.
The problem is they didn't understand a local candidate. I say this all the time. He is an instrument. So you take the national, you direct it through Rob Kenyon and say, that small boat is that Miss GP appointment. That small boat is the reason that house on that street is not available. It's gone to somebody from outside of the country. He is not... having a postcode is not a qualification. You are simply the tool. You're a lens to focus the campaign through. That's what they got very wrong. You needed the voter to focus purely in Makerfield. Don't think about number 10, because that, you're very right, was on the cards, change Prime Minister. You needed Andy Burnham every time to open his mouth was a defence of his record, not a proposal for the future. He was not prosecuted by any stretch of the imagination as Greater Manchester Mayor. He was prosecuted as for a job he hasn't even got yet. Everybody ran around saying Andy Burnham Prime Minister, Andy Burnham Prime Minister, and that word association lodged in the voter mind, and they said, oh yeah, Andy Burnham gets rid of this Prime Minister and we'll get this guy in. That is what Reform did. That campaign was one of the worst campaigns I think we'll ever see, because he really misunderstood what they had to do. And I feel sorry for Rob Kenyon. He was put into the middle of a war zone with the political equivalent of a party popper against an ICBM. I mean, it was laughable. The lack of policy, the lack of depth. The big problem with this social media posts was more on the lines of who cares, not the actual posts. People understand, this kind of gym room comments. It is the fact that when 55% of people polled said, we don't like the fact he didn't apologise, that's what got them. It wasn't the comments, it was the lack of apology that actually sank them when it came to that.
Which then didn't kill the story and didn't allow everyone to move on.
And that is the big point.
Plus, Reform may have an issue with female voters.
Oh, yeah, they've got a huge issue because it's actually the economy. Because when you poll, most women polled tend to focus on jobs, the economy, cost of living. Why? Stereotypically, they run the household. They're the ones that pay the bills. They're the ones that see the money come in and out of the accounts. So therefore, when they suddenly see that things start to go up in price, their kids might not be able to get a job in the future, the school isn't very good, those kind of little things, that is where the Reform Party need to hook in and hook in hard with a blitz of policies between now and autumn, because what they really need to do is to become the party of the economy. It's why the Tories are still alive. The big mistake they made on the economy, triple lock, and everyone's going to go mental at me right now. The triple lock they should scrap it. Purely because you frame it as, I need grandparents to look after their grandkids one last time. That framing. Frame it as that. The last two successive parties, the Tories and the Labour Party, gambled with your grandkids' future. They spent it. They've ruined it. I need you to take one last hit to make sure your grandkids are okay.
Now, I hear what you're saying, and that's a positive message, but I don't think that you can win a general election without the triple lock.
I think you can, because you do what the Tories did in 2015. You say, we have to do this if you want to have a future. Don't forget the Tories in 2015 ran on a platform
vote out of self-interest.
They ran on a platform.
Above even the needs of their grandkids.
Yes, I don't know on this one.
Because that's immediate. Because what they'll say is, look after our grandkids. You can pay for the triple lock by getting rid of welfare.
Well, 55% of the welfare budget is the triple lock. That's the problem. Over half of it is.
The other 45% of it is wild.
Again, you've got to do the other bit and say, yes, we're going to cut the welfare bill and we're going to try and bring back the triple lock. You maybe drop it down to a double lock or a single lock. But what you've got to do is to just...
Sounds like an open door to me.
You really need to bring...
Sounds ajar.
Yeah, pretty much. He's just got to be able to just narrow down the pensions bill so you've got a bit more free rein to actually spend to bring everything else down. The pensions is actually one of the biggest boots on our backs at the moment, and we've really got to get over it.
So can we? I'm fascinated by this, Peter. Can we war game the idea of a snap election? You and I are among the only journalists in the country that think that this is likely. But the bottom line is that there will be a Burnham bounce.
Yeah.
And he can own this, and he can claim the moral high ground.
Yeah, he's the conquering hero.
Right, and I think that, again, I could write his speech and I can say, hello, everyone, I'm Andy Burnham, working-class man that went to Oxbridge and read English literature. Yeah, anyway, D.H. Lawrence. So I'm Andy Burnham with amazingly lush black hair, these amazing eyebrows, beautiful big eyes. I'm like a Disney prince, really, from the north, King of the North.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I'm a leader now, I'm Prime Minister, but what I don't have is a mandate. And actually, what you did in Makerfield, where was it? Where was it campaigning? Makerfield, yeah. What you voted for was change. So how can I promise you change? This is going on too long.
A little bit, yeah. His argument all over the place.
I think we've got.
It's like your Terry Wogan. Your Terry Wogan's your best.
Oh, let me tell you something. Not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. I want to say to you that this is an important point I'll get across, which is as follows: he can claim the moral high ground by saying, "Do you know something? I don't have a mandate."
Yeah.
You are absolutely right. I've been parachuted into number 10 on someone else's mandate, on someone else's manifesto. Do you know something? You're right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to go to the country, because the people of Makerfield had a clear message, which is change. Politics ain't working. We heard all that baloney from him, which is just complete white noise. But that is his pretext for going to the country is actually a moral one.
Oh, yeah. Gordon Brown basically never got over this problem in 2007. He was basically briefing the press he was going to go for a general election. Then they brought out, ironically, the triple lock, and that is exactly why he chickened out. And he never got over that kind of problem of he wasn't an elected Prime Minister, despite the fact we don't elect the Prime Minister. I will say, though, when it comes to not having a mandate, certain political parties like Reform have to be very careful because there's 7 defectors that didn't have by-elections, that, don't have mandates to move parties, when Nigel Farage openly said, you're not a legitimate member of Parliament if you don't have a by-election. I'm just saying people should be very careful about what they post on X.
Well, yes, and you do have the likes of Douglas Carswell, who was very brave because he
actually did
metaphorically crossed the floor, left the Tory party and sparked a by-election, which he then went and won.
Yes, yep.
And he's a bit of a rock star for me, Douglas Carswell.
I've always liked Douglas, actually, but
he's one of the good guys. So let's just quickly go through this, because I've got a full switchboard. Thank you very much for all of your calls. Do you feel sorry for Keir Starmer? 03444 999 1000. Kira is on the phones. Directing our TV output, Kalila, who is owning it. This is going to sound immodest, but Kalila is directing the output. I can't lie. I've never looked better. Compelling, authoritative. It's not me. It's Kalila. So if you want to watch the show, let's get the numbers up. Head over to YouTube, search Talk, and you'll see us. And then Kalila will get a pay rise. I want to ask you about the timeline for this. Do you think that the Prime Minister is going to resign tomorrow?
Every indicator says that yes, but with this guy, I'll believe it when I see it.
I know.
This is the big problem. How many times have we sat in this room and gone, it's the end of Keir Starmer, this is the one that does it, this is the one that does it. And I kind of feel like, I don't know if you've ever seen Peanuts, Charlie Brown, where the little girl keeps pulling the football away from Charlie Brown before he goes to kick it. I think it's on Thanksgiving or something like that. That's how I feel. It's every time she's going to pull the football away and we're all going to land on our back and look foolish, because that is how I feel when it comes to Keir Starmer, because until I see it, I don't believe it's going to happen.
Well, I agree, because it would be him doing the right thing for the first time in 2 years.
Exactly.
But hypothetically, if he goes to, if he makes a statement from Downing Street tomorrow, which I think would be a smart move on his part, because then he can own his departure and it will look dignified and some people will feel a bit sorry for him. If he strings it out and there's a protracted contest, the public will be furious and then Labour will be Tories 2.0. So I suspect it's going to happen tomorrow, will be my guess. So he does that. Burnham is in number 10, according to Neil Parish, who knows Parliament inside out and the machinations of government, that he becomes Prime Minister and enters Downing Street in early July.
Yeah, I can see that.
So why then not go to the country in, let's say, October?
I don't know. I feel that would be a bit too quick. You don't really want to be the guy that just comes in and swoops in straight away somehow. I think that would look... Yeah, that's when the country would start to feel sorry for Keir Starmer, and I think that's when people would start to feel sorry for the Labour Party, and I think you'd kind of ruin the kind of the dignity of it. Actually, I'd be very careful about moving too fast. But yeah, it's a difficult one.
Then you're saying Christmas, so what sort of December? But wouldn't that
because you've got conference season?
That would mightily pee people off, wouldn't it? Christmas election.
No, well, Boris Johnson did, and he won a majority. But I think because you've got conference. He's got the ability to stand in front of his own party and actually deliver a kind of, this is my going to the people speech. You know, that big moment of having everybody clap and all the award and all that kind of fanfare around you, I think could be a big, big moment for him. And I do think that's a better way to do it. We always thought that... But Boris basically did the same thing. That he did the conference and then then we went to the general election. I do think that's the better way.
One thing we have seen from Andy Burnham is courage.
Yes,
because I believe that I honestly believe that he's a preening narcissist. I think if he was made of chocolate, he'd eat himself. He's been on more journeys than Phileas bloody Fogg.
Yeah.
Okay. He was a Blairite, then a Brownite, then a Corbynite. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
Women who've got penises, no, they don't. Love the EU, no, I don't. I mean, the guy is a wild charlatan in my view.
And this is why, just on that very point, this is what I mean by he should have been prosecuted on this. not elevated to the position of Prime Minister in the campaign by whoever.
You're
because
not wrong.
that sinks a politician. They kind of, oh, well, it is one day is this, one day is that. The hypocrisy of it, that's why I keep saying every time he opened his mouth, it should have been, what I meant to say was this, what I meant to say was that. You know, that kind of narrative.
I totally agree. I mean, the Reform and the Tories didn't even give Burnham a nickname.
No.
And I think maybe we need one of those.
Bandwagon Burnham.
Well, that's a brilliant one. That's very strong. So my point is that notwithstanding that I think that the guy, like Starmer and like Boris, it's all about becoming Prime Minister, having the job. It's not actually what you're going to do. It's just like, I want that job.
Yeah.
And so that's fine. But he does have one strength, one quality at this stage that we know of. A pair of balls.
Yes.
Because he, first of all, he pitched up at Labour Party conference last October. It was actually kind of ended humiliatingly and he went off with his tail between his legs. But he was clearly like, look, I'm going to shot across the bows. He then tried to go for Gorton and Denton, was thwarted.
Yeah.
But that was already reputationally quite damaging and embarrassing. He then goes again in Makerfield, but he risked a lot.
Yes,
And I think especially Gorton and Denton, by the way, because that was not a shoo-in to win that seat.
No, it wasn't. But also, that's exactly where the Reform Party lost that by-election, because Andy Burnham was not going away. Andy Burnham was going to try to find a seat to run. That's what that was a big flare about.
But
on this fact of a strength is actually, yes, the resilience of this guy is incredible.
And dare I say it, courage. Or at least a willingness to gamble.
Yes.
Because, I mean, this is a guy, Neil Parish earlier on the show, he said, you know, if this hadn't gone well, career over.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And if Reform had run a better campaign, career over.
Yeah.
And he's not even Mayor of Greater Manchester anymore.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. It would have been the end of Andy Burnham and an entire project, because let's not forget he's never been outside of politics, so he would have nothing else to do.
If we offer you a cup of TalkSport tea, will you stay?
Sure, why not?
The TalkSport tea is not good.
Well, you know, I'm used to that in this building.
Because our machine's broken, the TalkSport machine is fine, but the place is contaminated. I'm not going to blame Ray Parlour. But I'm going to blame Ray Parlour. Folks, lots more to come, but here's the question to you. Dolan's dispatch on the way at 9, by the way. I'm dealing with Starmer in no uncertain terms. It's my goodbye love note to the Prime Minister. But next up, it's your calls. Do you feel sorry for Keir Starmer? 0344 499 1000, 8:36 Talk Breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
As we reflect on the political legacy of Sir Keir Starmer, it's worth pointing out that it is the 21st of June 2026, which makes it Father's Day. And I would like to wish all of the fathers out there a very happy Father's Day. We love our dads. And my dear old man is no longer with us, Seamus Dolan, a legend, my total hero. And he's up there in heaven now having a lovely pint of Guinness, a lunchtime pint. No, it's not lunchtime, is it? Anyway, so God bless my dad. And to all of the dads out there, the granddads, stepdads, and of course the fathers like mine who are no longer with us, but whose legacy continues. In fact, if you want to give a shout out to your dad, then you can text me, talk and 87222. We are having an important conversation this morning. Do you feel sorry for Sir Keir Starmer? It is 8:38, it's Talk Breakfast. Michael is in Stoke-on-Trent. Good morning, Mike.
Morning, Mark. Actually, before I say anything, your guest there, Mr. Barnes, is from Makerfield, is he not?
I am indeed.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. You're the only person I know from Makerfield, so I'm going to blame you for everything that's going to go wrong.
Well, you can do that, but unfortunately, I don't live there anymore. And I'm going to say, if you start blaming voters for making a democratic choice, the right is going to eat itself and the left is going to just walk right into the next 3 general elections. Do not blame voters for putting X's in boxes.
Mike, I think you've got under his skin.
No, I don't like this argument at all, because I'm going to blame Reform for Keir Starmer. Then everything that Keir Starmer has done is the fault of Reform UK.
It's a quick runaround. Do I feel sorry for Starmer? No. Do I feel sorry for this country? Yes, because Burnham is more left-wing than Starmer. And let's be honest, the only thing that Andy Burnham is on is an Andy Burnham ego trip. I mean, very quickly, this is the point I think that, one, I think Reform put the wrong candidate in. They should have had a more experienced candidate.
Correct. And a better, who's a lovely guy, Rob Kenyon, but they needed a better communicator, Michael.
They did. I agree. And the thing is, Burnham is a career politician. He's never had a job in his life. So if he loses politics, he's screwed. And he's changed his mind so many times. These are things I've got against him. And one is the great Maggie Oliver. She's called him out over the rape gangs. Not grooming gangs, rape gangs.
Correct.
They did nothing. He's a police commissioner for Manchester. They're in special measures. He's given money to builders who never built a social house. He lost over £100 million on a congestion charge, which he cancelled. And the man changes his mind faster than I changed my underwear.
Also, he enjoyed the legacy of government decisions prior to his tenure as mayor.
I agree. I mean, I think it's personal. I think with Andy Burnham, you listen to him, and it's nothing more than an ego trip. I mean, the people of Makerfield, democratic right, I respect that. But he's not going to represent Makerfield. The only thing he's talking about now is Downing Street. And as far as I'm aware, Peter might know this, I don't think there's a Downing Street in Makerfield.
There is, actually, yes. However, Andy Burnham has also been able to keep in place the entire team that Josh Simmons, the former MP, actually had in place. He's also been able to talk about that constituency significantly more than Reform UK or Restore or whoever actually did. The one thing people need to get into their heads is actually Josh wasn't hated for calling this by-election, for him, like, you know, giving the seat to Andy. They didn't like the fact they had a by-election because they quite liked Josh, because Josh was doing things and he's promised to keep those things in place with the right people. So this idea that, you know, he's somehow this constituency is going to be forgotten isn't true, because I look at Clacton-on-Sea. You look, how many times do people in the media keep saying Nigel Farage is never in the area, Nigel Farage is never in the area, then Nigel has to suddenly turn up to the area. A constituency with a very prominent MP has a lot of power, because if it starts to make a lot of fuss, you then force action and you force attention. This idea that of neglect is just not true. Look at Theresa May and her constituency. Rishi Sunak had the same problem. Boris Johnson, my God, he had to go to Uxbridge every other day because of the way that the constituency was able to weaponise the press against him. This idea that if you have a prominent MP, you're somehow neglected was never true before the campaign, and it is not true after the campaign.
I don't trust Burnham. End of story.
No, and listen, you've not made it personal, Mike. You've outlined some facts about Andy Burnham. Now, he will challenge a lot of what you've said, and he will argue that he was very assiduous in his pursuit of the great crime of the rape gangs. But I think there are questions to be asked on that one, Mike. As you say, the Clean Air Act, and also this obsession with buses.
Yeah, all right, you got an obsession with buses. I lived in Manchester. I actually worked on the express there for several years. When I was there, I could walk through Piccadilly Gardens quite safely. Now, I wouldn't even go near the place.
Well, that is so damning, isn't it? That is an absolute shocker. Mike, do you think the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is going to resign? Will he make a speech tomorrow, do you think, an announcement?
If he's got any common sense, he will do. But to be quite honest, I think the man will go up there kicking and screaming like a 3-year-old.
Wow.
They'll drag him out. It's an ego trip with it. I mean, no disrespect. Peter said about Nigel. He spent more time in Clacton than what Starmer spent in the country.
Well, I know what you mean. And Mike, can I ask you then, have you got an idea? You've told me about the character of Andy Burnham and his record in Manchester, which you would argue is far from glorious. What sorts of things do you think he'll do when he becomes Prime Minister?
I think he will move Miliband to Chancellor.
Wow.
I think that will then open the floodgates for him to literally take as much money off the working people in this country as he can. He will borrow money until we go bankrupt. And he will just give it away to stupid lunatics. I mean, from the point of view, do I think he's going to represent the people of this country? No, I don't, and that's my personal opinion.
Will he be, for his sins, Mike, will he be an improvement on Starmer? Will we benefit, given the fact that he's clearly better at politics and a better communicator? Is that any consolation?
A snail would be a better communicator than Starmer.
And he's gone into his shell.
He is a good communicator, and that is the thing about him. He talks a good story. But by the same token, he has changed his mind more times in this campaign than what Starmer did in the last 3 months.
Oh, you're right. We had the U-turn on What a Woman Is during this campaign. We had a U-turn on rejoining.
On that one.
I know. By the way, how do you identify today, Mike? What are your pronouns? Is it Michaela this morning?
I am 75 years of age and I'm on crutches. Other than that, I would come down to London. Give me 6 months to get there and I'll kick you right where it is.
Michael, you're a hero. Listen, what a brilliant call. Go and have an excellent Sunday, Michael, and we'll catch up really soon. Enjoyed our conversation. Delighted to welcome Jeff in Hastings. Morning, Jeff. Follow that.
Yeah, well, that's another job. Yeah, good morning, Mark. Good morning, Pete, and all the staff.
Morning, Jeff. Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, I love that guy, Pete. Actually, he's one of the best you got on there.
He's quality.
He's my kind of guy, you know. Now he speaks for me. Now I'll be quite brief, Mark. I don't feel sorry for Keir Starmer. I feel sorry for all the victims of crimes by the immigrants, you know, the kids, the general public, and the suffering that we've had to go through. And the fact that he's building new homes for these importees, if you like, while the British suffer homelessness, shows he's never going. He's going to keep them coming, you know. Now, I feel Keir Starmer, in general, to be honest, only a slight give to the right-hand side. That he's a gentleman. But I think he is still being controlled by a deeper force, if you like, in the country. I don't believe it's him. I mean, that Liz Truss was in for 6 weeks. She left because she couldn't handle the mandate.
Yeah.
You know. So, you know, no, I don't feel sorry for him. I can't answer the questions to what all these people are up to in parties. And I mean, you put the points to me and I listen. But, you know, I really don't know what's going on in all of it. I just get the general basis that we're not looking after the British people. All my British brothers and sisters out there, I'm on your side. Don't you worry about that. And if I could do anything to get rid of all this lot in power now, I will do in a you know, like a twist of a minute, if you like. But, no, I think we're in pretty much of a mess, and we're not going to get out of it for quite a while yet, guys.
I agree with you. Jeff, another fantastic call. You did follow the previous call brilliantly. I want to ask you, Peter, before you run, devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
It's clear that Andy Burnham is a better communicator. He's more politically astute and canny than Keir Starmer, who has just got so many blind spots as a politician.
Yes.
So is there a chance that he'll do an OK job? For example, he keeps Shabana in the Home Office and he supports her brave efforts to tackle indefinite leave to remain. He waters down net zero, which his union backers want him to do anyway. He reduces welfare and gives the military a bump. Is there a chance that he'll do some good things?
I think there's always a chance he could do some good things because, again, people always see it as flip-flopping. Sometimes a politician can change their mind. He's just not very good at actually telling people why he did it. But I will say that if he keeps Shabana in, I think there is a chance. I think that's the big one.
Which is what we're hearing, isn't it?
Which is what we're going with. But I do think that who becomes Chancellor will be the test. I really do. I don't believe he's going to pick Ed Miliband at the moment because there is so much negativity. Even in the more left-wing press, there's a lot of negativity around Ed Miliband at the moment. So I don't see him getting Chancellor. He might still be in Cabinet. I don't see him getting the number 11 job. But that then begs the question, who on earth is he going to pick? My thing is he might just keep Rachel Reeves there, but... we don't really know.
It doesn't scream change, does it? I mean, the only person that wouldn't frighten the horses is probably the outgoing health secretary. What's his face?
Wes Streeting. Yeah. Well, he probably will become back into cabinet as well. But the thing with Rachel Reeves is she's that ineffective and no one pays attention to her. The markets don't care about her. So actually, you keep the level of stability with her. But yes, I still think there is a chance he could do the right thing. I think, but he understands the political optics a lot better. So that is why you might get some better decisions made sometimes. But again, we have to wait and see because the right has the problem. If he ends up being better than Starmer, you can't keep calling him more left-wing and all the rest of it. Then you've got a bigger problem on your hands.
It's going to be a big problem. And of course, you'll be covering that in great detail, both as a host and commentator here on Talk. Peter killed it this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Join us again soon. Peter Barnes for Prime Minister. Let's have a contest. Barnsley versus Burnham. Hello, I'm Northern.
Both from Makerfield.
Yeah, well, that's it. And one's a real Northerner and the other is a plastic Northerner.
Well, I don't say which is which.
Bend it like Burnham. Peter Barnes is bendy. That's another story. Family show. We've all had a drink. It is 8:49. Do you feel sorry for Keir Starmer? Your call's next.
Is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in crisis. Subscribe to the royalty from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Martin Blackburn is the football writer at The Sun newspaper. And Martin, are you as consumed as I am with World Cup fever?
Yeah, of course, Mark. Yeah, it's starting to get going now, isn't it? You know, we've had about 10 days of it. Still another 4 weeks to go, though, Mark. So it's going to be dominating for some time to come yet.
Most definitely. It's like Christmas for Fleet Street, isn't it? Especially the sports pages. And
Absolutely.
It's been a really compelling tournament so far. And as an England fan, we can feel in a mood of optimism.
I think so, Mark. Yeah, I haven't seen too many teams that have looked better than England. Let's put it that way. I think a lot of people were impressed by France. You know, Argentina played well while most of us were asleep over here. But I think we were all quite impressed by what England did. And, you know, we don't always start tournaments very well, Mark. So we put a marker down and all eyes on Tuesday now against Ghana.
Well, definitely, Martin. And as a team, England had to go from 0 to 60 very quickly. Quite often, the first game of a tournament will be a bit of a gimme. This was not. Croatia was strong.
Croatia were good, yeah, and of course England know all about Croatia. We've played them several times in the past, and they have a habit of going deep into tournaments. So for England to win that comfortably in the end, I mean, it was first half was close, obviously finished 2-2, but I think England fans were always confident, Mark, that they would come through it, and that's that's something we haven't said very often in the past. That you're going through games expecting us to win.
Most definitely. Let's have a look at how the team are doing overall. A little bit of a concern for Marcus Rashford, who, of course, scored a brilliant goal in that first game.
Yeah. So he's had a little sort of hamstring injury, Mark. I think there's a slight update on that in that he has trained overnight. He didn't start the game, but of course he scored the fourth goal. So he's somebody that Thomas Tuchel will want to be fit. He's also got Saka, who's got a little injury worry as well. So. But the great thing is, Mark, that because they've got that first win under their belts, the 3 points, they can maybe afford to give Rashford as much time as he needs to get fit, with an eye on later on in the tournament.
Let's talk about Harry Kane. He received a very special call, didn't he, Martin?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Mark. It came from David Beckham, who of course is such a legend in England football terms. Harry Kane equalled his 115 caps that Beckham's got. Put himself joint third in the overall list of England appearance makers, and actually only 10 off the top, which is Peter Shilton. So the way Harry Kane's going, he doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon, and you really expect him to go on and beat Peter Shilton's record as well. But Beckham was such a sort of proud Englishman, former captain himself as well. So for him to pick up the phone and congratulate Harry Kane on that achievement was a nice moment, and I'm sure it's being talked about in the England camp.
Now, as England fans, Martin, there's nothing worse than a game we should win, but that's what Tuesday looks like.
It does, yeah. I mean, they've got Ghana and Panama now over the next week, Mark, and I think really, both of those teams are teams that England should be looking to beat, certainly. But we've seen this before, where England have sort of come unstuck when we least expect them to. So I think one more win would probably guarantee them top spot in the group, which is the first target boxed off. And it might be that last game against Panama next Saturday is a dead rubber, but as we know, we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. We should, just look at one game at a time and try and win that one. But,
I think you're right, Martin. My second team, like for most of us, my second team is definitely Scotland. I hope they get further than Nicola Sturgeon's motorhome. Can they prevail in this group and get through to the next stages?
So they've got, they lost to Morocco very late on Friday night. Mark, having beaten Haiti in the first game. So now they've got Brazil. Now that, normally that would seem very daunting. It's not the same Brazil side as, we remember when we were growing up. But even so, having to get something, in that last game against Brazil is a tall order for them. So it could be that because a lot of the third team places go through, the teams to finish third in the group, I think 8 of the 12 are going to go through. So if Scotland can, avoid a heavy defeat, they might just squeeze through. But to get a draw or a win against Brazil is going to be tough.
Martin, I've really been enjoying your coverage in the Sun. It is #1 for World Cup action, and we'll catch up very soon. Martin Blackburn, top football writer. Thank you, Martin, at the Sun newspaper. Check out the Sun for all the World Cup coverage. Do you feel sorry for Keir Starmer? Anthony is in the Northwest, in Manchester. Hi, Anthony.
Hello there, man. Nice to speak to you.
You too.
There's rumours going round that the voting system may well be changed in England, even for the mayoral election, whereby unless a candidate wins 50%, people can have the preference votes, then decide who wins. What will happen, I think, is that reform, if they don't get the 50% in any constituency, if that happens, then all the others will combine together and just to stop reform, just as they did in Makerfield. I don't think we're ever going to get reform government. If you look to Germany with the AfD, they do really well in the elections, but all the other parties get together to make sure that they never get power. And
I totally agree, Anthony. And something I'm really worried about is tactical voting on the left at the next election, which we saw in Makerfield, and then some kind of deal after the election between Labour, the Lib Dems, the SNP, and wait for it, Anthony, the Green Party.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Mark. And the thing I find upsetting is that I think Nigel Farage is generally a great man. I think he's a real hero. The abuse he gets, the death threats he gets, and he still powers on. I'd love to see him to be Prime Minister. But I don't think, as I say, Reform will ever be in power. I think we'll all coalesce against us. And this nightmare that we've had, well, arguably for about 20 years, will just continue. The demise of our great nation is unstoppable. And
I agree. I mean, I think if at the next election, Anthony, we get the left in power for another 5 years, I think that's it. I think we're done.
But I think it's deliberate, Mark. The left-wing ideology is to destroy ethnic, destroy the natives. Introduce left-wing policies, welfareism, and I can't. I'm 75 now, Mark, and I just can't believe how this country's declined, and it's purposeful. It's not an accident. All the main people, like Starmer, obnoxious Starmer, they seem to thrive on it. They seem to want to encourage it.
I totally agree, Anthony. I wish we had longer. You're absolutely right about that. It is 5 to midnight for the country. Well, folks, we've got a big hour to come. Dolan's Dispatch is next. This is Talk Breakfast.
Just some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the Home of Common Sense.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Top of the morning to you. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan.
Some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the Home of Common Sense.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Top of the morning to you. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan.
Some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the Home of Common Sense.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Top of the morning to you. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan.
Some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Loads to talk about, I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the Home of Common Sense.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Top of the morning to you. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan.
Some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Top of the morning, happy Sunday one and all. This is Talk Breakfast. Mark Dolan with you in the hot seat today and tomorrow. That's right, I'm covering Talk Breakfast tomorrow in for the brilliant Jeremy Kyle. And I may well be reporting on a prime ministerial resignation because breaking this morning, It's the end of the affair. It is over for Starmer. The fat lady hasn't just sung, she's in a cab on her way home. We are indeed expecting the resignation of the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, likely going to happen tomorrow. Now, this is a man who has been in post for less than 2 years following a remarkable election victory in 2024. But it's going to be a short-lived premiership which has ended in tears. We'll bring reaction from across the political spectrum. And I've got a simple question for you this morning. Do you feel sorry for Keir Starmer? My phone number is 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk in your message to 87222. Leave us a voice note and let's talk. You can hear us on the radio, DAB+, in-app and online, but you can also watch the show. Head to YouTube, search Talking Up. We pop so much to get through. A busy hour. Let's get to work. And we'll kick off, as always, at this time, every Friday, Saturday and Sunday, with Dolan's Dispatch. So this morning, we are told that Sir Keir Starmer is considering his position. Isn't that nice for him, considering his position? Well, I've been considering his position too, and I want him out. And what's amazing as we reflect on his almost 2 years in power is how little he has to show for it, other than extraordinary, eye-watering economic, cultural and societal damage. Now, in 2024, when the so-called evil Tories were in power, we had the highest economic growth in the G7, and when Rishi Sunak left number 10, inflation was sitting at 2%, a figure for which we could only now dream. And we know the Tories got lots of the big calls wrong, signing up to the deranged religion of net zero, wokery in our public institutions, in my view, a COVID overreaction, and the now notorious Boris wave of 2.6 million legal migrants, not to mention the endless arrival of the boats, all on the watch of the Tories. So all of that is true, but Labour have come into power and made things far, far worse. And the fish rots from the head. The accelerated decline of our great nation is down to Sir Keir Starmer as Prime Minister, aided and abetted by little Miss CV herself, Bank of England economist, no less, Rachel Reeves. What an amazing CV she's got. Did you know she also led England to victory in the Battle of Hastings? And she wrote both War and Peace and Hey Jude. I mean, these people are jokers, aren't they? What have we had on the watch of Keir Starmer, aided and abetted by Rachel from accounts? Well, the National Insurance tax raid, a plethora of red tape, the brain-meltingly stupid hike in the minimum wage for young workers, and Soviet levels of workers' rights. All of this has literally dismantled, eviscerated and torched the British economy, which is why there is inflation, which is why there is debt, which is why there is unemployment, and which is why there is no growth. Starmer has destroyed this country's relationship with America with the catastrophically bad decision not to support Donald Trump's efforts to disarm Iran, the most wicked regime since the Third Reich. And we didn't have to put boots on the ground. We didn't have to drop bombs on Tehran. That's not what Donald was looking for. All he needed was for us to allow America, our number one diplomatic and economic ally, to refuel their planes on British territory. And Starmer said no. The list goes on. What about Starmer's efforts to see British war heroes sued during their retirement? What about his efforts to give away the Chagos Islands at a cost of billions to the British taxpayer? This is a guy that tried to bring in digital ID, an Orwellian overreach, a dangerous policy that wasn't even in the manifesto. What about his efforts to scrap jury trials, even though they've worked quite well for 900 years? This is a guy that talks about division, but whose tone-deaf response to Southport and the murder of 3 little girls at a Taylor Swift dance class was to call anyone concerned about the consequences of mass migration far right. This is a man who has consistently pandered to the sectarian vote, miraculously forgetting to wear his poppy in the run-up to Remembrance Weekend whilst recording a video for British Muslims, even though earlier that day and later that day, he was wearing a poppy. Funny that, isn't it? He must just be Mr. Forgetful. This is a guy that has tried to reverse Brexit via the back door under the guise of closer cooperation and better trading ties. Forget about that. That is snake oil language, which translates as the undoing of the biggest public vote in our history. He couldn't even, Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, couldn't even allow St George's Day to pass without a rant about the far right, a largely imaginary group that lives rent-free in his admittedly very empty head. This is a glorious leader that still struggles to define what a woman is, even though he's married to one, and said with a straight face to an interviewer that the sentence "only women have a cervix" is something you shouldn't say. I'm glad he's not a doctor, especially a gynecologist. Now, I am both an enthusiast for and a keen student of British political history. And Starmer's got to be the worst we've ever had. He makes Neville Chamberlain look like Winston Churchill. The only so-called successes that he can claim to have are policies that he didn't want to do in the first place. Scrapping the two-child benefit cap is something that he said we couldn't afford. We can't afford it. It's unaffordable. We're not going to do it. Then he gets into office and he's bullied into doing it by the left of his party, and now it's his greatest achievement. You couldn't make it up. And that scrapping of the two-child benefit cap, what an insult to the many families across the land that make a careful decision about how many kids to have based upon whether they can afford it. And of course, Starmer has fed the cult of welfarism, where it pays better to stay at home watching Loose Women, chowing down Domino's pizza, guzzling those big bottles of Diet Coke, other drinks are available, rather than getting up in the morning and going to work. It's on the watch of the Prime Minister that the cost of welfare is now higher than the entire income tax take of the country. Folks, we could do an hour on how terrible Starmer has been. The heartless war on pensioners with the scrapping of the winter fuel allowance for millions. The needless war on farmers, which provoked one of at least 20 U-turns performed by this man with no ideas and no principles. The nakedly political decision, the cruel decision, to establish the precedent of taxing education. Imagine taxing education with the decision to slap VAT on private schools, which has led to over 100 venerated institutions to shut down, some of which specialise in music, art, and even the care of challenged children. They've all gone, and thousands of kids that were in private school are now trying to get into a state school which is already oversubscribed. But apparently that is progress. It's another policy which just demonstrates what we've been going through for 2 years, a policy which demonstrates the inner workings of this man's mind. Cynical, petty, counterproductive, pointless, unthinking, heartless, cruel, stupid and wrong! It's been a terrible 2 years. We have seen the acceleration of our national decline. The Tories messed up with open borders, net zero, COVID overreaction, wokery in our public institutions, yes. The Tories messed up. And what did Starmer do, Dean Spencer? Hold my beer. And if I hear one more lefty tell me that it's a shame for Starmer because at the heart of it he's a decent man, I beg to differ. I don't think Keir Starmer is a decent man. I don't think he's a good man. He's not a good man. He's not a good man. He's not a decent man. Because his actions over the last 2 years have damaged the country, a country I love, and his actions and his policies have damaged the people of this country, a people I love, my people, the British people, who, as a caller said earlier on today's show, feels now like they're at the back of the queue, a second-class citizen in their own country. worried about open borders, mass immigration, worried about illegal immigrants killing a hotel worker with a screwdriver. Far right. Obscene. Don't you tell me that he's one of the good guys. I believe that Starmer is a shallow, phony, fraudulent and dishonest man. He's not even a technocrat. Look at the chaos surrounding the appointment of Peter Mandelson. And if you needed any further evidence of the deep failings of his character, let's remind ourselves that this is a multi-millionaire ex-lawyer. Starmer's net worth, Dean told me earlier, almost 8 million quid he's reportedly worth. 8 million quid, folks. And yet he gets a wealthy Labour donor to pay for his suits, to pay for his spectacles, and to pay for his tickets to the Arsenal. Keir Starmer, what an Arsenal. I'm not even going to wish this man a happy retirement because, of course, he won't retire. He'll be heading straight to Brussels for a fat cat job with the EU, as befitting the self-serving globalist toad that he really is. I'm so sorry, Keir. It's not goodbye. It's good riddance. 0344 499 1000. Your reaction. Robert's in Hertfordshire, which is a leafy home county. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning. And that was one of your best dispatches. That was absolutely incredible. What a monologue.
Well, you're very kind to say that, Robert. Many would argue I've been too hard on him, too personal.
No, I mean, you took all the words, I don't know what to say, you took all the words out of my mouth, you know, but going back, I'm more annoyed at the right. I'm more annoyed at Reform. I'm annoyed at Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib. You've got nothing to beat. Don't they realise?
I know.
That the right have nothing to beat. And what's going to happen is, after Burnham's got his little bit going, he's nationalised everything, and then people realise everything's going on strike. You know, because that's what he's going to do. It's going to lurch more to the left. But it's the people who are pulling the strings of Burnham, and the same people who's been pulling the strings with Starmer. So it ain't going to be. It's just going to be much, much worse. I'm disappointed with the right. I really am.
I agree with you. They need to grow up, don't they, and stop fighting like children in the playground, Robert.
Well, they need to wipe their mouth. That's a Cockney saying. They all need to wipe their mouth and get together. I very much doubt it. But the only decent politician that Labour have got is John Healey. I quite like the cut. I like the cut of his cloth. I do like that. He reminds me of John Smith, dear old John Smith.
A legend of the Labour movement, yeah.
You know, and I quite like John Healey. I don't know what's going to happen with him.
I think he'll be straight back into the MOD when Burnham becomes Prime Minister. That would be my guess, Robert.
Yeah, but, you know, the things is, just because Burnham gets in, the left are going to dig their heels in even more. So it's going to be even more. There's more migrants. They're going to do nothing about the migrants. Nobody pressed him. That's when they should have, when he was just before the election, that's when they should have pressed his record on the grooming gangs in Manchester. Nobody pressed him. They let him swagger about. Nobody pressed him.
I totally agree. He got a free run at it. Robert, what a lovely call. I wish we had longer. Do call me again soon, and thank you for your kind words about Dolan's dispatch. Not everyone's going to agree. Many would argue that Sir Keir Starmer, when he became Prime Minister, made immediate changes to the country, fixing our broken public services, investing in the economy, giving public sector workers the pay rise they deserve. Starmer is very clear that he'll have a very positive legacy from his 2 years in office, lifting millions of British children out of poverty and avoiding the war in Iran. So Sir Keir Starmer, very proud of his legacy. But what do you think? What is Keir Starmer's legacy? Matthew's been doing a great job today, by the way, because you know I'm obsessed with Dave the engineer, because I'm involved in a bitter tug of love between myself and talkSPORT over the services of Dave the engineer. Well, I've got to tell you that old Matthew's caught my eye, and he's pressing the buttons this morning, and he's gathered some great voice notes for us. So thank you for that, Matthew. Can we hear, when you're ready, from Jay?
Morning, guys. Great show as always. It was good to see Mr. Starmer come out and condemn the attack on the Muslims yesterday in Edinburgh. You know, that guy clearly has mental health issues. You can see it a mile away. I mean, to walk around with that figure that he had bare-chested as well with no T-shirt on, he's definitely got mental health issues. I'm hoping they don't put this down, I would imagine, as a far-right attack, because it's mental health. Like many of the attacks that go on against Brits in this country that go down as mental health, I'd say this is the same. Just from the footage I've seen, they're very similar. I'd also like to point out that he was very quick to come out with that statement, which is fantastic, the Islamophobia statement. So that's fantastic news that he's going to come out and do this every time now and condemn everyone and anyone.
Thank you for that. How about this from Ven?
Morning, Mark. It's Warren from Erdington in Birmingham, mate. How can you feel sorry for Keir Starmer for what he's done to this country? I have absolutely not one ounce, not one scintilla. I do feel nothing for this man, Mark. He has destroyed this country even further with his ideological lunacy. They're a bunch of cretins, every single last one of them.
I don't disagree with you. I think that's a fair point. How about this from Addy? Take a listen.
Morning, Mark. It's Adrian from East Sussex. Do I feel sorry for Keir Starmer? No. If I'm watching a puppet show and a string breaks and the puppet collapses to the floor, I don't have any concern whatsoever about that puppet. And that's exactly what I feel for Keir Starmer. He is a complete and utter con, as is most of politics probably at the moment. What I'd like to know is how we get to the people pulling the strings at the top and make them pay for the evil they've done over the last half century to my country.
Well, I agree with you. This has been a long time coming, hasn't it? Thank you, Adrian. How about this from Dodd?
Talk. Hi, Mark. It's Ian from East Grinstead. Interesting discussions about the cabinet if Burnham gets elected as PM. But at the end of the day, you're just keeping all the same incompetence and just putting them in different chairs. The country will still be governed by people who are unfit to govern, and that's the problem.
Agree with that. I cannot disagree. We're literally led by donkeys. How about this from Val?
Can you wish my dad, Jim Hall, happy heavenly
that's
Father's
wonderful.
Day from Val? I love and miss you so much, Dad. You made me who I am, and I love you.
That is just the most wonderful message. May God bless your dad, Val, and thank you for sharing his memory with us on Talk. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there and to the dads that we've lost. Couldn't have done it without you. More to come. I've got one of the most important political advisors in the country, a guy that has advised prime ministers and party leaders, and he'll be answering a simple question, which is whether or not we're going to have a snap election this October. Talk Breakfast 9:21.
Is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in crisis. Subscribe to the royalty from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast. It is 9:23. With me in the studio, a man that has advised party leaders and prime ministers. Graham Davis, good morning.
Good morning. Delighted to be here. Only a few days after the people of Makerfield have had the chance to vote Andy Burnham for a brighter future for Andy Burnham.
I think that puts it exactly right. And I'm surprised at the easy ride he had in this by-election. Because, yes, Robert Kenyon was a very decent guy, the plumber that represented the reform cause. There were other opposition parties competing for that seat. But essentially, it was a pretty straightforward campaign for Burnham, wasn't it?
It really was. And I'm afraid it did show some, not exactly a burst in the reform bubble, but a few leakages from the balloon.
They should have run Burnham closer than they did.
They really should have done. There should have been a much more rigorous, not vetting of Robert Kenyon. I mean, I do feel sorry for him because he barely learned how to swim and he was thrust straight into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
Really, it shows that there is a certain amount of innate weakness in reforms processes. You see, essentially, reform should be looking in the next 2 years to be fighting a war of persuasion. And the only weapon you can have in a war of persuasion in British politics, I'm delighted to say, are words. And you need the best possible people to create and deliver those words. I regret to say that the reform candidates list currently makes the equivalent Tory list look like the SAS. They've got a long way to go.
I think they do, and I think Nigel Farage will be keenly aware of that, and I don't just think it, I know it, because I spent half a day with Nigel last week in an exclusive interview that I've done for the Daily Express, which drops on Tuesday, and he's well aware that he's got a mountain to climb, and this will certainly focus minds. Meanwhile, we now have a Prime Minister, Graham, holed up at Chequers, considering his future. Do you think that we are likely to expect a resignation speech tomorrow?
If I were advising him, which I'm not, I must emphasise...
More's the pity.
I would actually say to him this. Look, they have gone through a process here, supposedly the Labour establishment, of going through an exercise in Makerfield with a specific purpose of ousting a Prime Minister who is responsible for winning all the other seats that Labour currently hold. You should actually look Andy Burnham in the eye and say, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough, because I'm not going anywhere. I would have thought that if there is some form of Burnham victory or a Starmer leaving in some way, that it will cost a fortune to refurbish 10 Downing Street because of the fingernails that would have to be extracted from the carpet. I think that Starmer should fight.
Well, that's fascinating. That said, it's looking less likely now, isn't it? We're hearing a figure of about 25% chance that he will stay on to fight. Reason being, it seems now he's in the throes of a Boris moment. When the herd moves, it moves.
Yes, indeed.
How many members of those cabinet would serve under the Prime Minister going forward? A minority.
Well, of course, it is different to when you're being potentially ousted as a leader of the opposition. I accept that. But nevertheless, I still look back at the Labour Party procedure where Jeremy Corbyn was essentially dumped by 3/4 of his parliamentary party. But because of the Labour system and the ongoing long campaign that was required to actually get Labour members to vote for somebody who was running against him, he actually won that by a long way. Now, I accept that Keir Starmer is in a difficult position, but I don't think that Burnham is necessarily a nailed-on, definite victor with the Labour membership.
Well, that's very interesting, and perhaps they'd like to have that contest. However, it's probable that Andy Burnham will be Prime Minister, and quite rapidly. So if we storyboard this, if we wargame the scenario, Graham, and Starmer makes a statement tomorrow with a dignified departure, Andy Burnham comes in. Now, Neil Parish said that logistically it's very possible that Burnham is PM by early July. Does he then go to the country in the autumn?
Well, to become a leader, you could do it probably not necessarily with having a specific vision, but just a general vibe, a souffle of platitudes, which is what he's got so far. He's essentially got that immediately identifiable brand, which makes some of us feel slightly queasy, but nevertheless actually can be identified immediately as the professional northerner. But he has to immediately transition from being an insurgent to an incumbent and move from sentiment and slogans to practical solutions. And I'm not sure he's quite got the DNA to do that.
Well, I think that's fascinating. And you're right about vibes, because there was very little policy detail in his efforts to win this by-election. It was about hope, casting himself as the white Obama, if you like.
Policy detail. Frankly, his policy platform had more holes than a Swiss cheese, and frankly, less cheese.
Most definitely, and more flip-flops than a flagship branch of Sports Direct. I mean, that was the point. This guy was doing U-turns in a short by-election campaign. God help us when he becomes Prime Minister. But I want to ask you about, because you've advised politicians, Prime Ministers, leaders, not just on communication, but also strategy. And it's a dilemma for Burnham, because there will be a Burnham bounce. There is a window of opportunity for him to go to the country and say, a lot of you are arguing that I don't have a mandate. And do you know something? You're right. And therefore, because if he stays as Prime Minister without a mandate, well, he's stuck with the old manifesto. That doesn't sound like change to me.
One of the reasons why he's so keen on making sure that he is, quote, coronated, unquote, is...
Like a Marks and Spencer's chicken.
It is because, of course...
Is he stuffed?
If I had lost as many leadership elections badly as he had...
Is he a feather plucker?
I would be very keen on making sure that I didn't have to fight another leadership election. But he has this image of, especially in the middle of the World Cup, dare I say, of, you know, it's almost like the Dutch football fan song, jump to the left, 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 jump further to the left, left, left. And if he's going to be able to move against that stereotypical view of the Burnham lurch to the left, he does indeed have to do it quickly. The other reason, though, that he doesn't want a leadership campaign and to fight against other candidates is that probably he would have to promise to all Labour MPs who want to keep their jobs not to call an immediate general election. Because no matter how brilliant his rebranding is from insurgent to incumbent, they inevitably will lose dozens, maybe hundreds of seats, and an awful lot of people will be out of their lovely, cushy lives. And so it is very unattractive to the Parliamentary Labour Party to call an immediate election.
Well, I agree with you. And if I think constitutionally, not just the letter of the law, but also the spirit of the law, if you become Prime Minister, you unseat a sitting PM and become Prime Minister, I believe that you are duty-bound to stick with the manifesto, to honour that manifesto. Obviously, you can tweak around the edges, but that was the basis upon which the administration was elected. So I think you're lumbered with the manifesto. The only way that he gets that manifesto, the albatross, off his shoulder is to go to the country.
Let me put this to you, though, Mark. Very few MPs in any party, and certainly almost no normal individuals who've got lives, ever read a manifesto, even 10% of it. And actually, I don't think that anybody that I've spoken to over the last week would have any clue what the details of the Labour manifesto were. They, in a general election, vote for some concepts, for ideas, for broad sweeps. And actually, a Burnham regime would still have the same broad sweep as a Starmer regime. And I don't think there is any moral need to go to the country. And in fact, it probably won't inhibit him.
But what I think is as follows. I think that if he's brave and says to the public, you're saying I don't have a mandate, you are right, which is why I'm going to seek one. So I think if he does that, then I believe he's sincere to the people of Makerfield and the UK about change, because that would be proof in the pudding. It's like, I told you in Makerfield that I was going to change our politics. I can't do that with this old manifesto and with the fiscal rules and God knows what else. So I really meant it when I said change. That's why I'm gambling everything on an election. If he stays and just remains Prime Minister for 3 years, off the back of Starmer's mandate, then it means his commitment to change was a lie.
Well, if he went to the country immediately, yes, he would be sincere and committed to change because it would cause a change of government. It would immediately...
Would it, though?
I believe it would throw away the Labour majority at the very least.
Would he hedge his bets on a hung parliament and he brokers a deal with the SNP, the Lib Dems and the Greens?
He's certainly got a track record over the last few weeks of making a major punt and winning, because, of course, if he'd lost in Makerfield, it would be the end for him. He would never have come back from that. So, yes, he might be going for a big daily double, but it would be a massive gamble. And I actually think that it would be the braver thing to actually do the best for the next 2.5 to 3 years as the Prime Minister on the current mandate.
Well, that's fascinating. So what would Andy Burnham do if he became Prime Minister, which is looking increasingly likely? Well, Graham Davis has advised party leaders and Prime Ministers. Will Starmer be any good in office? Graham Davis has the answer to that, and it's next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast, 9:35 with me live in the studio. The presentation coach, Graham Davis, a man that has advised Prime Ministers and party leaders over many years. Do you rate Andy Burnham?
He wouldn't be my choice for Prime Minister. I can see the strength of the brand that he's created, and he certainly seems to have a level of geniality which remarkably means that a very wide array within the Labour Party do something unusual. They seem to like him. So that's something that he has that Keir Starmer doesn't have, because Keir Starmer was seen as an efficient HR woke bureaucrat, but not necessarily somebody that you could like over a period of time. What Burnham needs to do, I believe, if he comes into number 10 as quickly as possible, is to differentiate himself in some way from the Starmer regime, because that differentiation has not been clear so far. In fact, he's deliberately avoided trying to do so. He needs to, I think, grasp the nettle that was hurled in the face of the current regime by John Healey and Al Cairns. How is he going to fund increased defence spending? Is he going to reduce welfare spending? Is he going to increase borrowing? That sort of unholy trinity is something that he needs to address immediately.
Well, you raised a really interesting point that if there is a protracted leadership contest, first of all, it will be bad for the country because they'll be arguing among themselves whilst Rome burns, whilst our viewers and listeners are struggling with inflation, unemployment and wealth creators running for the hills. So that would be a bad look, and I think it would characterise Labour as Tories 2.0, fighting whilst in office. There's another problem for Burnham if there's a leadership contest. He will then have to make left-wing promises in order to win, to which he will be bound. If there's a coronation, he doesn't have to make any promises, then he's got a free hand.
I nevertheless believe that Labour should be tough on stitch-ups and tough on the causes of stitch-ups. This one of the most toxic phrases I've heard bandied around over the last few weeks is we're looking for a managed transition of power, setting out a timetable for your departure. That's the sort of thing they used to do in the Soviet Union in the 1980s when they were passing from Brezhnev to Janenko and Andropov. I believe that's one of the strengths of British democracy, that we do have open, genuine elections for leaders, irrespective of whether it's an opposition party or the governing party. I don't think it's bad for the country.
Most
I
definitely.
think it's a good thing.
But if there was a leadership contest, he will make commitments which he hitherto hasn't made. And in the absence of a leadership contest, he does have a political blank check. So, because my argument is, if there's a leadership contest, he cannot say, I'm going to cut welfare, because he won't win. He cannot say, I'm going to dilute net zero, because he cannot win. He cannot say, I'm going to give a bump to the armed forces by cutting departmental budgets. So the dream scenario for Andy is to win Makerfield by saying nothing, which has been achieved, and to get the leadership by saying nothing. I think this is the big goal, the prize for him, because I've got a suspicion, Gray. I think that if there isn't a leadership election and there is a coronation, I think he'll come in and I think he'll do a number of unpopular right-wing things. Because although he's on the left of the party, I think he will cut welfare to boost defence spending. I think he will dilute net zero because the unions want it. And I think that he may well look again at the Nix tax raid. What say you?
I had no idea that you are much more of a proponent of Machiavellian dark politics than even I was. So bravo to you.
He might do that. He might say, sorry, folks, pain first, pleasure later.
Pardon me. But of course, if he is running against 2, 3, 4 other candidates, they also have the problem of what to promise during a leadership election campaign. And I think that problem is a good thing for the country to have. I accept that it's not ideal for Burnham. It makes things very difficult for him.
It ties his hands, I think.
It does, and I can see all sorts of reasons why he'd like to make sure things are stitched up. I don't think, however, it's good for democracy, and I think it's a good thing for them all to have to sweat over that quandary in public.
I do agree with you, but it's probably not going to happen, is it?
Probably not.
And for one good reason, there's perhaps, is there one serious contender in Wes Streeting? And Wes Streeting's an ambitious man who would quite like to be Chancellor or Foreign Secretary.
I remember that name, Wes Streeting. I haven't heard much from him recently. I think he was rather shocked by perhaps his own rather inadequate performance when he made his resignation speech, when he didn't really say what he was dissatisfied with about the Starmer regime. I think he was also disappointed by the number of people that he had surrounding him doing that speech, about 20 or 30. It rather showed that he didn't necessarily have the 81 signatures necessary for him to start a leadership campaign himself. I think he realises that he himself is a bit of a busted flush.
Keir Starmer, what went wrong?
He was always somebody who was innately a HR bureaucrat, legalistic operator, rather than an empathetic politician. And probably that was always going to find him out. And I think that the whole thing is epitomised by the failed Chagos deal, because he felt that in some way that this really catered to his lodestar of international law, justice for international law, as recognised by international courts, rather than the practicalities of what was best for Britain. And I'm afraid that epitomised his whole premiership.
Well, I think that's right. Do you have any sympathy for him?
He has done as well as he possibly could have done with his DNA.
And with his many blind spots.
Well, he was a walking blind spot. He was like a Dalek who could focus in that direction, make an attack there, and then focus in another direction. So blind spots were priced in always. He has done as well as he could possibly have done. We shouldn't feel too sorry for him. This isn't a guy who's going to be crying into his milk in the morning. He will get on with his next task.
Well, I'm very excited because I'm in a wonderful, illustrious media sandwich at the moment, because live in the studio is the presentation coach, Graham Davis, who, of course, has advised party leaders and prime ministers And down the line is the Star Express columnist, JJ Anasiobi, who is also the host of the hit YouTube show, The Daily Espresso. Good morning, JJ.
Good morning, Marky Mark. Happy Father's Day, sir.
Oh, look, it's so nice to have you on the show. Normally you're in the studio. And, by the way, put an invoice in for this. JJ, can I ask you, is your old man still around?
He is. He's alive and kicking in Birmingham.
He read a good one, didn't he?
He tried.
That's it. JJ, listen, I'm so glad. We can't wait to have you back in the studio soon. And I'm looking forward to your column, which is going to be tomorrow, isn't it? And no doubt politics will come up. What do you make of what's going on at the moment?
Andy Burnham, as Graham Davis has already said, Andy Burnham is out for himself. He's cost this country £5 million because that's what it cost to do the by-election in Manchester.
Yeah,
Greater Manchester. And then for the mayorship as well, it's going to cost £5 million. I know £5 million is not a huge amount of money in the grand scheme of things, but for Manchester, £5 million actually would have been good for a few of the schools. Maybe it cleans up the city centre. Maybe it's heating pensioners for this winter. And then with Starmer, I voted for Labour thinking that Starmer was going to be the change, thinking Starmer was going to be this great, amazing, the new hope, the new deal. But his lack of principles and his flip-flopping, that's what's done him in. If Starmer went into power and it said, you know what, I know you guys don't like the fact that I'm going to freeze all the pensioners, but this is what's best for the country. I'm going to do it anyway. So he went in and he said to all of his soft backbenchers, no, we're not going to keep increasing the money for benefits. We're going to stop that. We're going to make sure people are getting back off their butts and they're getting back into work. The country would be this was best for the country. I think people would have respected that. Instead, you got a prime minister who just flips and flops in a desperate bid to stay in power. You would make a better prime minister, Mark.
You've obviously been on the sauce a bit early today, JJ. Having a Father's Day celebration of your own. What do you think is going to happen, JJ? You've got your finger on the pulse of Westminster politics. Do you think Starmer resigns tomorrow?
I think Starmer resigns tomorrow. Absolutely. He had such. This has been the making of Starmer, really. This Burnham insurgency, because he came out fighting. He was so strong in his rhetoric. We finally had Starmer show the personality. I've seen him smile more in the last 2 weeks than in the last 2 years. It's been very, very strange. But he knows if he goes against Burnham, he's going to lose. And so, unfortunately, I think he's going to resign next week. And I say unfortunately because I think in the long run, Andy Burnham is going to be worse off for this country than Starmer was. It's a bit like when Theresa May went and then Sunak went, and we're all thinking, well, good, they were terrible. And then you see what's left over and you're like, oh, actually, I wish we had those people back in power. When Starmer goes, in 6 months' time, this country will be saying, oh, actually, maybe we should have had Starmer back. Maybe he should be the one in charge instead of Andy Burnham. Because Burnham's going to fill his cabinet with loony lefties. Miliband as a chancellor. Are you mental? Miliband, his net zero madness is what is crushing this country. That's only going to go through the roof if Burnham makes him chancellor.
Yeah.
Nothing that we want, nothing that the working class man wants in this country is going to come to fruition if we get Andy Burnham as Prime Minister. And unfortunately, we are going to get Andy Burnham as Prime Minister.
JJ Anasiobi is the star columnist at the Daily Express newspaper. One of the most read columns in the country for good reason. Stay with us if you can, JJ. Live in the studio is Graham Davis, who has advised Prime Ministers and party leaders. Your reaction to what JJ's had to say?
I think that Burnham could be worse because, in fact, what is he going to do that is going to make things better? Is he really going to slash welfare? I don't think so. Is he really going to eliminate net zero? I don't think so. Is he going to reduce the burden of national insurance payments on employers? I don't think so. One of his problems is that really he's just a concept. He's an idea. He's a vibe. He isn't a man with specific solutions. He's never been a man for specifics, and I think that is going to continue.
Yes, it sounds a little bit like Starmer 2.0, doesn't it, JJ? If we look at Burnham's campaign in Makerfield, yes, it was successful, but in the same way that Starmer's was in 24, which is by saying nothing.
Exactly. Andy Burnham is Keir Starmer in a much nicer suit and Keir Starmer with some personality.
Whoa.
I remember 10 years ago, Andy Burnham would be in Westminster in Gucci suits, being wined and dined by different corporations. He was not a man of the people. Then suddenly he gets the mayorship and he's like, oh, I'm going to trade my Louis Vuitton loafers for some Doc Martens, and I'm going to wear a shacket. I'm going to talk like a normal guy.
Well, I mean, let me give you an example, JJ. As Health Secretary, he began the privatisation of the NHS.
Yeah. Exactly, and all of those things will be forgotten by people. No one's. Thankfully, there's journalists like you, Mark, who will bring this stuff up and make the public remember. But the general public, I'll remember that people have been fooled into thinking Andy Burnham. Now he gets it. He's one of us. No, he's no different to Starmer. He's no different to Starmer, except he communicates better. He has a bitter personality, and he's got a better team around him than Starmer has.
And JJ, whilst you've got your crystal balls out, which I will tell you are mightily impressive. What do you think? Do you think will happen if and when Burnham becomes Prime Minister? So I spoke to Neil Parish earlier, who knows the House of Commons inside out, and he said that if there's no contest, Burnham is Prime Minister early July. Does he go to the country, JJ, because he will be popular for a little while, or does he turf it out for 3 years? What do you reckon?
No, I think he'll go to the country. I think we're going to have an early general election.
Oh my goodness!
He'll be riding current popularity. The power will go to his head, as it does with all of them. It goes straight to their heads, and they'll think they're invincible, and they'll think now is the time to strike. And unfortunately, I think if he comes in the first 3 months of being Prime Minister and he does okay, and the country feels because it doesn't actually matter whether the country is richer, better off or not. It's how the people feel. If people feel this is going okay, this is doing well, that's what matters. That's how people vote on how they're feeling. And I think if he judges that the country's feeling good, we'll have an general election, and then Labour will win, whether it's a coalition government or not. Labour will end up staying in power, and then we're really screwed. Then we've got another 4 years of Burnham going proper hardcore left. Oh, good Lord.
JJ, it's such a worry. I'm already excited about your column in the Express tomorrow. And do you think that this topic will come up in the Daily Expresso tomorrow?
If you want to talk about it, sir, then we would absolutely talk about it. But, you know, a lot of our viewers, all they want to talk about is Mark Dolan, his ties, whether he's single, why is his profile on Grindr, all those kind of things.
The reason I'm on Grindr, I'm a people person. I enjoy male company, and that's as far as it goes, JJ. If I was gay, I'd be all over you like a rash, so don't worry about that. Actually, never say never. JJ, looking forward to the Daily Expresso tomorrow, which will be on YouTube late afternoon, and it's myself and JJ do it every Monday, and of course JJ is the host of Daily Expresso, and it's daily on YouTube, and of course his brilliant column tomorrow. JJ, have a good... Oh, by the way, you're doing a Father's Day with your little boy today? What's happening?
Yes. We're going to go to a place called Flip Out, jump on trampolines, throw my knees out, ruin my back, and then drink lots of vodka this afternoon.
Well, you've earned it, and it's been a tonic to have you on the show, JJ. Thank you very much for joining us. See you tomorrow for the Expresso. The Express's star columnist, JJ Anisiobi. I'm delighted to say that Graham Davis is going to be with us till 10 o'clock. And before that, in case you hadn't realised, the 2026 World Cup has officially kicked off. Here at Talk, we're celebrating in style. How do you fancy getting your hands on a massive £26,000 in tax-free cash? Imagine what you could do with all that money. If you could do with a boost to your bank balance this summer, here is how you enter.
For your chance to win, visit talk.tv/win or text TALK to 83338 by 6 p.m. on the 20th of July 2026. Texts cost £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or send your name and number by post to Comp 1, PO Box 3190, Colchester CO2 8GP. To arrive by midnight on the 23rd of July 2026. 18 plus, UK residents only. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now. This is a network promotion, full T's and C's at talk.tv/win.
Crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in crisis. Subscribe to the royalty from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
9:54, this is Talk Breakfast. The brilliant Alex Phillips is live in just a few minutes' time. Graham Davis is with me, the presentation coach, a man that's advised prime ministers and party leaders. Why, Graham, does Keir Starmer provoke such evisceration, such public anger? Why is he so unpopular?
It's because probably emotion doesn't come naturally to him. He's the epitome of the DNA of a barrister, looking the evidence.
Which is, of course, one of your other skill sets.
It was, but...
You've got a longer CV than Rachel Reeves, haven't you?
Yes, but not a very impressive legal one. I mean, the day I become Lord Chancellor would be a very dark day indeed.
Also, unlike your CV, unlike Rachel Reeves, you've not led, as a general, the Battle of Hastings, and you didn't write War and Peace.
Well, I did a course in speed reading once. I read War and Peace in 5 minutes. It's about Russia.
That will do it.
But, yes, sorry, where were we?
So the anger, that because we've had incompetent prime ministers in the past,
yes,
but there's something about the antipathy towards the Starmer that the public have, including Labour voters.
Well, obviously, we had a prime minister who imploded very quickly in Liz Truss, but that was a massive implosion in so many ways.
And yet, even for those 44 days, she wasn't hated in that way, was she?
Indeed. So what Keir Starmer has managed to do is, because of the sequence of events and because of the way he seems to have liked procedure much more than results, that, I think, has dripped over a period of time. But there's no point in getting annoyed or angry with him. That, in some ways, would be like the same as getting annoyed with your AI or the battery on your phone.
It's true.
It's the way the Starmer robot is wired.
I think you're right. And here's the problem. Here's the kicker. I'm really struggling to find upsides from his legacy. You mentioned procedure, but the guy's not even a gifted technocrat, because look at the circumstances around the appointment of Peter Mandelson. Chaos and a hot mess. Look at Freebiegate. Look at the general administration of policy, the U-turns. So he's not even been boring, actually. He's not a boring bureaucrat. This is not a guy that's been in control.
No, and he's even taken... I mean, it seems quite clear that he was advised by the advisor that was eventually sacked to take on Peter Mandelson. And so he quite clearly dumps people when he feels that they've left him in the lurch, from Sue Gray right at the beginning of his administration. So loyalty for him seems to be a one-way process.
What about your old mate Kemi Badenoch, leader of the Conservative Party? Front page of the Mail on Sunday, Kemi, why I will never do a deal with Farage. Is that disingenuous, given the fact that no such deal is on the table?
When there is nobody better than Kemi Badenoch when it comes to student union-style sneering or cackling condescension. But when it comes to the practical creation of pragmatic policies, she's got nothing. And that is how she has managed to lead the party from 24% of the polls down to 17 or 18%.
So her big Achilles heel is policy?
Her big Achilles heel is policy, and a reluctance to even engage in it in a moderately adequate way.
Now, this is exciting, and this is a scoop and a Talk Breakfast exclusive, because you've advised party leaders and prime ministers. Are you telling me that Kemi Badenoch, metaphorically, is overpriced in the market?
Very much so.
Wow.
I have to admit this, that the way that the Aberdeen South campaign was handled by the Conservative Party was excellent. Specific circumstances, specific solutions needed to be created, and the overall slogan of "Who drills wins" was absolute genius.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, Kemi Badenoch did not think of that.
Well, that's very interesting, isn't it? So, how do you think things are going to play out for the right? Because I've got lots of viewers and listeners. They're not necessarily obsessed with Farage or Kemi or Rupert. What they don't want is another 5 years of a left-wing administration. But are the right at cross purposes with that? I mean, they're fighting like rats in a sack. How do you solve that problem? Reform aren't going away. Restore aren't going away. How do you fix this?